Hello, a very good morning. Welcome along to Ireland Day on Virgin Media One.
Lovely, I know, it's fine. Good morning. It is Tuesday, the 19th of March, and we hope everyone has recovered from the glorious bank holiday weekend.
It's just great, isn't it? Yeah,
so
love
good.
It. And the sun's starting to come up. It's getting a bit brighter.
It's lovely. And glorious appearance at the Late Late Show the other night as well. You were fabulous, weren't you? Weren't you great?
A little bit embarrassing.
It was so good. The polo neck was out.
It was.
Oh, no polo neck for Ireland AM this morning.
We had a right bit of crack, all right.
You were great.
And of course, Ireland won the Six Nations, so
and you
good.
stopped the Late Late Show. You're the first person to stop the Late Late Show and be like, no. Stop. This is my show. This is how I'm going to sing.
Is it the Flip Flops is the name of the band, is it? Yeah, good crack with Patrick Keelty, fair play. Now, coming up, we're going to take a look at the political events from the weekend, including Taoiseach Leo Varadkar, his trip to Washington, D.C., where he met with the US President Joe Biden. We're going to discuss that and all the other ministers all over the world.
Indeed. At 8:15, something different. We're going to be hearing from a cancer survivor about her story. She had cancer during her pregnancy, and she's also going to tell us about the Leave Our Leave campaign.
And for something completely different, we've got an antique jeweller coming in to give us a run through of some precious gems with hidden romantic messages.
Very nice.
9:20.
Some ideas for Lucy. She mightn't get a Hoover for Christmas next year.
I'm just so romantic as it is.
So romantic. And guess who's back in the house? It is Karen Coster. Hello, Karen.
Hello. Yes, while Alan is soaking up the sun rays, I am here. And coming up, life coach Mark Fennell will be joining us at 7:45 to discuss the quarter life crisis.
That's around 20, 30? Like, what is quarter life?
You've already had yours.
Okay,
You're on your midlife one. That's all you need to know.
Fine. He had it on national TV the other night.
You had it around 10 o'clock on Friday night.
That was his midlife crisis.
What about our eyes? Oh, we've so much slagging to do on today's show. But yes, how do you spot a quarter life crisis? How do you overcome it? Mark will also be staying on for a Q&A. So if you do have any questions for him, you can send us a WhatsApp on 089 611 111. Plus, we'll have some comfort food with our firefighting chef. That's in the kitchen later on. But for now, Deric is bringing it on at the Aviva Stadium this morning. Deric, are you cheering for Team Ireland this morning? I hope so.
Ireland Dave all the way, Karen, Tommy, Bjorn Shaw, Boher Lansdowne. This Monday morning now, it's a dry and settled start, and light showers to the north-northwest. Elsewhere, it looks like rain on the way up from the south later on this evening, so do make the most of that sunshine earlier on this morning and into this afternoon. Now, the Aviva Stadium just over my shoulder, some fantastic scenes here at the weekend, and this morning is the turn of American football. The College Classic is up and running, so we're going to be giving cheerleading a go a little bit later on this morning. We'll get the pom-poms out, and Tammy, her eyes, they shine like diamonds. Stop.
Get the pom-poms out if you're going to do it. Yes, thank you very much.
He's going to release a Spice Girl single. Stop right now. Thank you.
You're all very funny, aren't you? Anyway, thank you, Deric and Warren and Karen. It's great to be back with you guys this morning.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media One.
Gurmila Mahkucher, Tommy Bjorn, Shaw, Ballsbridge, Amalia, Oha, Clea, Magnino, Tommy, the Aviva Stadium right behind me here, because the College Classic, American Football College Classic, is kicking off. So we'll be live from there a little bit later on this morning at 8:45. So do stay with us for that. Now, we're getting past 7 o'clock here together. We're on to the 19th of the month. So let's take a look weather-wise now at how we're shaping up with Mark Armstrong with us on cameras. And out there this morning, we do in fact have a gorgeous sunrise coming up. Elsewhere, we are seeing mainly dry, steady conditions out there this Tuesday morning, with some light showers there through parts of Derry and into County Tyrone. Now, right across today, in fact, we will see that light to locally moderate westerly or variable airflow in the driving seat. And in and around 5 p.m. later on this evening, then we will see rain develop in across southern regions. Now, that will be heavy and persistent with some isolated thunderstorm activity. So make the most of that sunshine sunshine out there this morning and into this afternoon. Top temps of 10 to 14 degrees. Into tonight, then that system of showers tracking northwards across the country, just about holding drier through parts of the north. In across the northwest, we are expecting a damp and a breezy start as those winds veer to the northwest into those early morning hours, with overnight lows there back to 8 to 10 degrees. So that's how it's shaping up here for now. Gorgeous sunrise just behind the Aviva Stadium at the moment. We'll be back again live at 7:35.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media One.
It's time now to take a look at this morning's papers. We're starting with the Irish Times. Its headline, famine imminent in Gaza, UN warns. Israel has reacted scathingly after European Union Foreign Policy Chief Joseph Borrell accused the country yesterday of using starvation as a weapon of war. Israel is to send a team to Washington to discuss a planned offensive on Rafah.
The Examiner also leads with famine imminent in Gaza, as the head of the UN Palestinian Refugee Agency was refused access to witness the devastation on the ground. The UN Food Agency warned that famine is imminent in northern Gaza, where an estimated 70% of the population faces catastrophic hunger.
Here at home, thousands get warning on smart meter overcharging, is the front page of the Irish Independent. Thousands of homeowners who have smart electricity meters have been warned the devices may be malfunctioning, leading them to being overcharged. ESB Networks has admitted up to 80,000 meters may suffer from intermittent connectivity issues.
Hospital removes elderly patients at night. That's the top story on the Daily Mail. 5 elderly patients were removed from their beds in one night at the most overcrowded hospital in the country, University Hospital Limerick, despite the HSE insisting it is not its policy to do so.
The Mirror's front page, Garda killer Macaulay dead. Pierce Macaulay, who killed Detective Garda Jerry McCabe in 1996, appears to have died from natural causes at his home in County Tyrone. In 2022, he walked free from prison after serving 7 years behind bars for stabbing his ex-wife and Sinn Féin TD Pauline Tully.
The Star leads with Kenneth cold case murder arrest. The dad of Kenneth Featherson said he's speechless after a man was arrested yesterday on suspicion of his son's murder. Kenneth went missing on the 22nd of September in 2009 and his remains were subsequently discovered in the Dublin Mountains in January 2010.
The Herald's front page, Garda alert in Dublin for dangerous sex offender. A Garda alert is in place for a sex offender who was previously suspected of stalking the streets of the capital in a van, trying to abduct and rape sex workers.
And the Sun leads with the long Dubai. Efforts to get mob boss Daniel Kinahan home to Ireland to face trial are being hampered by difficulties securing an extradition treaty with the UAE.
Now, coming up after the break, we take a look at the weekend in politics.
See you back here in a few minutes.
Welcome back to Ireland AM. Over the weekend, Taoiseach Leo Varadkar made the annual St Patrick's Day visit to Washington, D.C.
Yes, joining us to discuss the visit is Louise Byrne, political correspondent with the Irish Mirror, and Hugh O'Connell, deputy political editor of the Irish Independent. Good morning.
Morning.
To you both. Hugh, let's start off with, so we'll start off with Leo Varadkar, who obviously was over in Washington. I suppose the big talking point going over there, and what a lot of people were expecting him, was to press his opinion on what's going on over in Gaza on Joe Biden. Did we see that?
I mean, this trip was controversial before it even began, I think, because there were calls for the Taoiseach and for the Irish government to boycott trips to America. Other ministers were in other parts of the States as well last week, because of what's going on in Gaza, and to make a stand, take a stand, make a statement that would kind of ring out internationally. Now, I think the Irish government took the position that a boycott would be counterproductive. It's not something that Irish governments generally do in respect of these situations. So the decision was taken to do the full St Patrick's Day programme. And the Taoiseach was in Boston and in Washington, D.C. for almost the entire week. And he was, every public appearance he made, he made a point, I think, of talking about what's going on in Gaza and articulating the Irish government's position. So that started last Tuesday or last Monday, I think, with this speech at the JFK Library in Boston, where he talked about the cries of the innocent children will haunt us forever if we stay silent. And that was probably the strongest speech that he made. And then as it kind of the week rolled on and he engaged more diplomatically and was in more political meetings, the message was not perhaps as strident. But then there was a shamrock ceremony in the White House on Sunday evening where he talked about the links, I guess, and why Irish people feel so strongly about Gaza, because what's happening in Gaza is a story that Irish people are very familiar with. Particularly, obviously, what we read this morning, famine.
Famine, absolutely. There are so many similarities in relation to Ireland and what's happening in Gaza. But Louise, when the calls are made for a boycott, which you can completely and utterly understand because America has been a big supporter of Israel, for our Taoiseach not to go over there, was it ever something that was going to happen? Because we have this unfettered access to an American president that a country of this size probably shouldn't have when it comes to St. Patrick's Day. So was it like, are they ever actually going to lose that?
No, and I think, and I'm speaking to a lot of people behind the scenes, a lot of government officials, you were kind of saying, well, are you going to, you know, really spite yourself and cancel this and risk never being invited back?
Yeah.
Now, I don't think you'd never not be invited back, but you also don't know. This invite is technically conditional. It doesn't. It has to come every year. Now, it's never not come, and you would imagine it's going to continue to keep coming. But it was a real question of, you know, do you completely exclude yourself and not make your point to make a kind of a political point of a different nature, or do you go and do you put your soul across and do you say, well, this is what the Irish people think and the Irish people don't approve of your links with Israel and we wish you'd do more? And that kind of seems to have been the approach the government has taken. Now, I know there was arguments, especially from people like People Before Profit, who were saying, well, if you don't go, this is an election year for Joe Biden. Obviously, there's a lot of Irish in America. He is relying on them for an awful lot of votes. If the Irish Taoiseach doesn't go, is that going to affect that vote? Is that going to make Joe Biden kind of spring into action a little bit? I don't think it would have. And I think it's remarkable because even over the since Sunday, I'm seeing so many clips of Leo Varadkar on TikTok and people from other countries and saying, wow, look at the Irish Prime Minister in the Oval Office, and quite actually complimentary of him. I saw one tweet being like, or one TikTok being like, wow, look at this guy, isn't he great? That came from afar. That didn't come from Ireland now, but it was people.
Yeah,
it was people actually really praising Leo Varadkar, and which is remarkable because I think here it's kind of. Some people are saying he didn't go far enough. Some people are saying he should have gone an awful lot more. But I think internationally, when you look at the international coverage, it's all everyone is talking about is the fact that Leo Varadkar did raise this with Joe Biden at the Shamrock ceremony.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose the problem really, though, is that he says all these things and he sits in the Oval Office in front of the world's media and says, you know, we need a ceasefire in Gaza, and Joe Biden kind of mutters, I agree. But look, the reality is that the US is bankrolling the Israeli assault on Gaza. It's providing weapons, it's providing funds, and it's simultaneously providing aid to Gaza as well. So it's a great contradiction in all of this. And what Joe Biden did say in the Oval Office in their private meeting, according to the Taoiseach when he came out afterwards, was that the US was not going to stop funding Israel militarily.
No. Well, that's it. So Joe Biden has made it clear that he will continue to support Israel. So is this like... Because, listen, Leo Varadkar's going over there. He's handed over the Shamrocks. Yeah. It's great PR. He's all over TikTok because he's getting his... But it's gesture politics. Well, I mean, he's going over and he's sitting at a dinner with Jeff Bezos, a load of very influential people. But realistically, is he having any impact, or is it just a case of a good opportunity for a photo?
The argument is made that the level of access that that Ireland gets to the US in this week and to the White House allows it the opportunity to make deals, cut deals. The IDA are over there, the Enterprise Ireland. I mean, Louise and I have been on these trips before, and there's a huge Irish contingent that goes out there.
So but it's not what you know, it's who you know. Yeah. And whenever they're over there mixing with these people, these are where these deals happen. But
there's part of it, I think, like I have friends in England who are kind of really confused by this, and they kind of wonder, like, why does Ireland do this every year? Like, because it seems like you go over to Washington, you go into the White House, you get the pat on the head, the bowl of shamrock, and off you go again. And it's, you know, some people, I think, look at this and think that this is a bit silly, like, you know, but look...
Then when you look at the multinationals that are in Ireland and what has happened is all this, can we just talk very quickly about the sea change that is happening in America about what is happening in Gaza? Yeah. Because there is definitely calls for America and the president to be stronger against Israel. Like, Louise, we've got Chuck Schumer, Senator Chuck Schumer, who was like the highest ranking Jewish official in the US, and he's calling for regime change in Israel. Netanyahu, before all of this happened, he wasn't a popular figure within Israel itself. Like, what is going to happen here? Because we're talking about mass starvation in Gaza. And this isn't new. This has been going on for weeks and weeks and weeks. And now it's finally making the headlines. Yeah,
and I think perhaps Leo Varadkar went over to Washington at a good time, because there is kind of a real change of opinion in the US over this over the last couple of months. I mean, in the week before Leo Varadkar went, Vice President Kamala Harris called for a ceasefire, and it was kind of the strongest call that you'd had in a long time. I think the intervention of Chuck Schumer is significant. Now, that did lead to, or led in part, we believe, to a conversation last night between US President Joe Biden and Benjamin Netanyahu about, that was discussed in part, and now Biden is calling for Netanyahu to send people from Israel over to Washington to discuss what happens next with Rafah, what kind of plan is put in place. But what kind of impact that has, we don't know. But I mean, I think it is interesting that all this happened and I don't think it was because of Leo Varadkar, just to make it clear. I think it was coincidental that he just went over at a good time when things are beginning to shift. But I think the longer this war goes on, the more depravity we see, the more people we see starving. I think it's only kind of natural that that plays on the heartstrings, and that the US are going to have to change tact. But I think, as Mary Robinson said on Friday, it was quite a really, really strong interview with Brian Dobson on RTE Radio 1, that as long as they're funding weapons, as long as there is weapons going on into Israel, that is, the war is going to keep continuing, and that is going to bolster them, and that's not going to change. So it's contradictory in one way to be calling for a ceasefire, to be calling for aid to get in, and yet on the other hand, giving them $10 million a day. Listen, Louise and Hugh are going to stay with us. We're going to discuss the top stories from today's papers as well.
I'll see you back here very shortly.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media One.
Mila Makuch, 7:32 on the button. We'll give you a quick update on how it's shaping up out there this morning. And a beautiful sunrise just over my shoulder. Make the most of it. Some light showers there through parts of the northwest, but elsewhere holding pretty steady now in those light to locally moderate west to variable breezes. Now right across today, in fact, sunshine slipping in around 5-6 o'clock later on this afternoon. That system of showers pushing up, heavy, persistent at times, with some embedded thunderstorm activity as well. Top temps of 10 to 14 degrees into tonight, then rain pushing northwards up across the country as those winds veer to a northerly direction, and a chillier night in store too, with valleys falling to 3 to 7 degrees. So that's how we're shaping up for now. We'll be back again live at 8.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media One.
Welcome back. Now, a number of tents have been repitched by homeless asylum seekers on Mount Street in Dublin city centre after they had been relocated over St Patrick's weekend.
Yes, here to discuss more is Louise Byrne, a political correspondent with the Irish Mirror, and Hugh O'Connell, deputy political editor of the Irish Independent. Right, we're moving on to stories here closer to home, as we just mentioned. So, listen, the government were obviously out of town with this when these tents were moved up into the Wicklow Mountains. We're seeing, obviously, the conditions weren't great. That 37 tents as of 4 p.m. yesterday had come back to Dublin again and in front of the offices of Grattan Court and Grattan Street. This is a bit of a minefield for the government to be coming back into again, isn't it? Absolutely, and I really think this is going to dominate leaders' questions tomorrow and the first day back of the Dáil following those trips for St Patrick's Day. And Minister O'Gorman, Roderick O'Gorman, who is the Integration Minister and who is responsible for this, did an interview on Sunday from Japan, and he was saying that it was actually from Japan. That I think that's how kind of huge the story had actually gotten over the weekend, that he was forced to come out and say that it was actually his decision to move these people who were in tents outside Mount Street and living in pretty poor conditions, it has to say. I don't think anyone could actually say that what these people were living in was ideal or good in any way, shape or form. Illnesses had broken out in there. Yeah, there had been illnesses, there wasn't proper sanitary facilities, and I mean they were living in really, really awful conditions, but the decision was made, and some people... They just happened to make this decision on a big tourist weekend. And I think this is where the controversy has come from, is that it was made on St Patrick's Day weekend to move these people. So our tourists wouldn't see. Is that it? I think Roderick O'Gorman denied that when in from Japan, but
I suppose that, the counterfactual is that if this site had become available on St Patrick's weekend and they were left there to avoid the perception that they were being moved for St Patrick's Day, he would have equally have been criticised. But look, it is a fact that they were moved on Saturday to this site, which seemed ill-equipped at the beginning to take these refugees, or these asylum seekers, destroyed the tents that were on Mount Street. They were removed by the council. I think the guards were down there. And then you have obviously around 30 tents being pitched up there as of yesterday, according to Kitty Holland in the Irish Times today. And what the department has said is about 14 men who were brought up to the site in Crooksling have made their way back to Mount Street. And then, of course, there are new people arriving as well, and they're pitching up at Mount Street outside the office, the International Protection Office, in order to try and claim asylum. So it's likely, I think, that the number of people at Mount Street will increase as the week goes on, unless accommodation can be found for them.
So they moved them to Crooksling up in Wicklow Mountains,
Yeah.
is it? I think I read somewhere that it was because there's better facilities and stuff.
Well, there are showers and toilets. I saw some pictures over the weekend that were pretty horrendous of the showers and toilets up there.
But it's better than the side of a street.
It's better than the side of a street where there are no sanitation facilities, and there's also access to regular meals and stuff. Now, there were volunteers, and I was speaking to some of the volunteers over the weekend that have been bringing meals to Mount Street over the last few weeks. And have been doing great work down there, and have been providing other things as well, tents.
Why
pillows,
would they
that
want
kind
to
of
come
stuff.
back to the town? Do we know?
Well, I think it's, sorry, Louise, I think it's access to local amenities.
Yeah, and like you have your day services, you have places to go. When you're up in the Dublin Mountains, you're pretty stranded. They've no access to power. Like if you read that Kitty Holland piece, people don't have phones, they don't have data, they can't charge their phones. There's no electricity. So I mean, they're pretty stuck. And
things like the mosque as well. I mean, that's important. A lot of these are Muslim men.
And they did this in Limerick before 80 international protection applicants were moved from Limerick city centre out into the country, and a lot of them had jobs, and then there was no public transport, so they couldn't go to their jobs anymore, so they lost their jobs. Anyway, I'm sure that there will be an awful lot about this coming up this week. We are going to talk about other people being removed now, Hugh. So this is in Limerick, This is Gareth McNamee in the Daily Mail today. Hospital removed elderly patients at night. What?
Yeah, so these are elderly patients, vulnerable patients with dementia from the geriatric emergency medicine ward at the University Hospital in Limerick. Patients being moved after 11 at night in order to free up space for others. So in some cases, they're being moved to nursing homes. So we've spoken about UHL on this programme before, or I have certainly. There's massive problems with overcrowding in this hospital, and so in order to free up beds, patients being moved in the middle of the night seems to be a very unusual approach, and certainly something that has, according to this report from Gareth McNamee, caused an awful lot of distress down there, both for the people working in the hospital and, more importantly, the patients themselves.
But it says here the practice described by medics. So they removed these people, some with dementia, at 11 p.m. at night. The practice described by medics who witnessed the patients being removed as cruel and disgusting. Who was doing the removing?
Well, it's hospital staff.
Who are removing them, and even though there's people who are working there who've got an issue with this.
Yes, well, and that's, I suspect, how it found its way into the papers today.
And we know that the hospital is under serious pressure at the minute, and the statistics are really poor on it, and that's what someone said. They're caring more about the statistics and the KPIs. So they're trying to free up beds to make it look like it's okay, so the papers don't pick up on it and hope nobody flags it. I don't
necessarily know if this is the answer, though. And I mean, UHL, their overcrowding problems, they are historic now at this stage. They've been going on for months. You've so many people on trolleys there every day, and in some instances that has led to really serious circumstances and really serious situations. And I mean, moving people from a bed at 11 o'clock at night, and so often you do hear that the reason there are so many people on trolleys is because you can't get people out of the actual hospital beds because there's no facilities, there's no step downs, you can't send them home, there's no community support.
This is a question. So if these people are in these beds that are badly needed, but that they are probably of an ability that you could move them to a nursing home, is that not fair enough then to free up beds for other people who are coming into the hospital? Maybe not at 11
o'clock at night. I think
4 a.m.
in the morning. I think that's the issue.
These patients don't know what's going on. I mean, the report
Seems
says
like
that they were
no
aware.
what's going on.
They're being discombobulated. They're doing it like
because
why?
maybe family members aren't around at that time or whatever. Let us know what you...
As always, we want to hear from you.
Yeah, have you any experience of this? Have you a family member or anything else in University Hospital Limerick? 0896 111 111. Now, another story, like when we're talking about serious stuff like this.
Yeah, and
this
Gaza.
is a massive story that's just seems to be growing and growing. It's about Kate Middleton. She was spotted yesterday.
Was she?
Allegedly.
So the Sun newspaper have a video of her leaving a farm shop with.
They have a
Prince
video
William.
of a woman with brown hair leaving a
That
farm
is
shop.
Kate Middleton.
Listen, I've analysed the walk. I've looked at the walk.
Louise,
it's different. Louise, what's happening?
Tell us about Kate's Gate.
Kate's Gate. So I have a friend in London who this has become her whole entire life. She's going to kill me for saying this, but she has been analysing Kate's Gate, and she is saying that that is not her walk.
doesn't
That
look
is
like
not
her.
her face. Those aren't her ears. She's gone deep down the rabbit hole, and she's been sending me all these theories. Those aren't her
Karen's
ears.
face just dropped over there.
This is the level of detail and the level of, seriousness of which people are treating this. And I know, Kate hasn't been seen in public officially for a couple of months now, since Christmas time. And a lot of people are questioning where she is. There's all kinds of conspiracy theories.
Up of herself.
The photoshopped picture that actually made
photoshopped
things
picture.
so much worse. And it's kind of remarkable because just every time something happens, every time we see Kate, anytime we hear anything about Kate that is meant to put everyone's mind at ease and meant to put this whole thing to rest, it makes it 100 times worse again. I don't think that's Kate Middleton.
It's an issue that they haven't put her in front of a camera to say hello.
But this is it. And I mean, it's hard to kind of tell. I mean, this video has obviously been obtained by The Sun and I think TMZ in the States as well. It's hard to say whether the royals kind of allowed this video to be taken or whether it was just actually something that happened very organically. But there is an issue where they don't seem to be able to put her out in public.
Have you seen the movie Dave? For the American president, where the stand-in becomes the president. There's stand-ins for them all.
The girl has just had quite what we don't know, but could be quite serious surgery. She doesn't want to be seen in public at the minute. Like, is that not her own
time that she would
prerogative?
Come back, she would be back doing public duties after Easter. So Easter is week and a half away.
2 weeks.
No? 2 weeks away.
Maybe if they hadn't made it so much worse, but this is
we're facing a moment of reckoning now in the next 2 weeks.
0896 111.
Is that
Where is
Kate's
Kate?
Gate?
Where is Kate?
Louise Byrne from the Irish Mirror, great to have you with us. And of course, Hugh O'Connell from the Irish Independent. Enjoyed that.
Thanks.
Get in touch with us, 0896 111. We'd love to hear from you. Now, coming up, the quarter life crisis. So that's around your
We're
20s,
over, are we? Did we have
is it real, and how do you get past it?
Let's go to the
We're
real
gonna
one we're
find
having
out.
now. That's the one I want to talk about. Talk to you in a minute.
Welcome back. Now, you've all heard about a midlife crisis, but what about a quarter life crisis?
And do you have to get the fancy car and a quarter life one as well?
Yeah,
as a midlife
get the
one?
Ferrari.
It affects 77% of young people today. So here to explain more is the high performance coach Mark Fennell. Good morning,
Morning,
to you,
Mark.
Good morning to you. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you with us. So 77% is a massive figure. So
Yeah.
give us, what is a quarter life crisis and what age do we say is a quarter life crisis?
Generally, 25 to 35 is kind of the age group. LinkedIn did a research and they said that 75% of people said they've had one. But what is crisis for one person may not be for another, so there's also that as well. And it's basically, I mean, as far as Wikipedia is concerned, it's an anxiety around where we're at and a questioning and a nervousness. Am I in the right place at the right time, whether it be relationally, socially, financially, everything.
And so how does it differ then from the one we know as a midlife crisis, which typically sees a man buy the fast car, break up his marriage? So how does it manifest
Really
when you're
good
in your
question. I
quarter
tell you
life?
what, it's like a bookend. The midlife is kind of this bookend, but the quarter is kind of the first one. And what they did was a fascinating research on it. Anxiety and stress really increase when we hit kind of 18, 19, 20, and it really spirals up in our 20s into our 30s. But then it kind of plateaus. It's not that the stress goes away, but our ability to manage it gets to be a little bit better. We're a little bit more tolerant. And what happens is it's kind of a coming of age. Now, if you fast forward with the stress drops off in retirement, but then we have this other fear of, now what? Who am I? I'm not that job anymore. So what do I do with my life now? Oh, I'll get a car or motorbike, stereotypical stuff.
Okay, so what would be a symptom then of a quarter life crisis?
It's, and it can kind of vary, but for most people it's an unnerving or it's an anxiety around, am I in the right place at the right time? We remember the question when we were younger, what do you be when you're older?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that question, but now it's like, well, I'm older. Am I the right thing? Am I in the right place? And for a lot of people, it's goals. Am I at the right stage at the right time? Because there's three types of pressures. There's peer, there's parent, and then there's kind of societal pressure. You know, well, at this age, you should be married with kids and so forth. And we all know it doesn't always go according to plan and the goalposts do move.
Yeah.
So there's that. And there's two types of crisis. There's the locked in and the locked out. So the locked in is I'm stuck in a position relationally or, you know, a job that I don't like. And then there's the locked out. I can't get to where I want to go. So it's one or the other, and it's a good question to start with when you're trying to figure it out.
And then when you're talking about the different types of pressure, where it's, you know, parent or peer, has social media just exacerbated that completely then for people,
so
for this generation?
We now have the comparison. You know, we've got this, we're living our life and we're scrolling and just making sure, are we living our life just like everyone else is living their life?
Yeah.
So we definitely have this comparison, but we're seeing it and we're available to it a lot more frequently. And so there's also then, you see studies come out and different things. And as we read them and go, well, oh, I'm 27. Yeah, I am feeling, oh, maybe there's something wrong. So we're constantly kind of, I suppose, getting these sound bites that can create this fear in us. Am I in the right place at the right time? But it's fixable. That's the good news. But the worst thing that people tend to do is they bury it under the carpet. They go through the motions, and in the job they hated when they were 25, they're now 35, and they despise the job and everything around it, and they kind of lose themselves a bit.
And I'd say a big part of that as well, maybe don't like the job, maybe they do love the job, maybe they're in a great relationship, but they always vision when you get to your 30s, you're going to own your own house. And there's so many people still living at home with their parents, they're living in rental accommodation, they can't get themselves onto the housing ladder. So I'd say that adds a huge amount of stress for people as well.
It is, because especially if you've got peers that are buying a house and you're not, like you can feel like you're a failure, even though you're not a failure. But this narrative, this is what I see with clients, they feel like everyone's ahead of me, I feel like I'm behind, I shouldn't have gone traveling, you know, I shouldn't have gone this thing. And I said, no, you wanted to travel at the time, go do it. I always say, we make the best decisions at the time with the knowledge we had at the time.
Yes.
You know, so go with it, make peace with it. Hindsight's a great thing for us all.
Yeah.
So in terms of like wanting a goal, so by 35 I want a house. So do you think setting goals is the wrong way to go, or do you think setting goals is because we always say set goals, it's a good thing to measure yourself against whatever else, but actually it's putting more pressure on yourself, is it?
It is. I'm one of these, I say have goals but don't have a timeline. And what I mean by that is have a ballpark. Don't say, you know, in 3 years this, the 5-year plan, the 10-year plan. It's good to have goals, but be prepared, goalposts move. You know, my story, we wanted to have kids at a certain, you know, we thought, oh, we're this age now, whatever else. It didn't just happen. And we had to deal with that for a number of years. So things change, and be prepared to that. So give yourself a thing called grace and go, you know what, this is the ideal plan, but I'm comfortable if it changes.
Yeah, because that's what I would think, like, some things are within your control, but say you do just want to meet someone, say you're single and you're watching this, you're like, I'm doing everything I can, and yet I'm just not with a person, say they want to start a family. So what do you say to people like that watching, where they can't really control those factors?
Yeah, good question, and it's a common question I get asked. People just say, look, I'm just lonely. Everyone else is fine, I'm just lonely, you know, and this is a 30-something who just hasn't met the right person. I always say it like this, a good little practice you can do, right? It's very simple. Write down a list, line down the middle, controllables and non-controllables, and say, right, whatever's in the non-controllables, you cannot control, so don't give them time and energy. What can I control? What can I do? You know, and look at that. But then sometimes people say, well, just put yourself out there more, and that's really annoying to someone who's going, yeah, okay, I'll just keep putting myself out there and go on all these horrible dates. So it's finding a plan that works for you and a routine that works for you that's realistic, you know, and I always say better be lonely and unhappy than in a relationship and very unhappy. So at the same time, so you're better off, I know that sounds maybe hard to take, but sometimes you're better off wait for the right person than speed up and get into the relationship with the wrong one.
And quickly, can I just ask you, if you're a parent or someone who sees their child or somebody they know going through this, or a boss, what is it just like,
what can you do?
Yeah, what can you do?
First of all, assess where's the pressure coming from and why, what triggered it off. You know, was there a statement, a question, number one. Secondly, what is it that you feel you are missing? So what is it that you feel is giving you anxiety that you don't have? And then start to work out a plan around what can I do to create a routine that might start bringing that into my life. It is fixable. Time does help with it, but the worst thing we can do is get overwhelmed with fear from it. You don't have to fear it. It is a transitional time that most of us go through, statistics show, and it's okay with that. So sometimes you have to say, I'll be grand.
I'll be grand.
I'll be grand.
Quarter life crisis. 77% of people said they're going through it. If people want to find out, Mark Fennell on Instagram, but you're going to hang around because we've got a load of questions in about not just quarter life crisis, midlife crisis. If you have any questions that you want to give to Mark, and we're going to throw it at him today, 0896 111 111, send them in to us.
Brilliant. We'll see you back after this break.
Hello, welcome back to Ireland AM.
Coming up very shortly, we're going to be speaking to a mother who's campaigning for a change in legislation for women on maternity leave who are undergoing cancer treatment. That's going to be at 8:15.
Sustainability is key. We're going to be speaking to a vintage jeweller about how to spot a diamond in the rough at 9:45 this morning.
We've also got some great looks in male fashion today. There you go, echoing the stylish Irish from the red carpets recently. That's going to be 9:45.
Is anyone going to be wearing a polo neck? Is anyone going to be with? I mean, he's bringing the polo neck back. Milk Tray Man. Milk Tray Man the other night wearing his polo neck on the Late Late Show. Karen, wasn't he lovely?
He was absolutely gorgeous.
Gorgeous. Gorgeous, so he was.
Though Patrick probably pulled off the polo neck better. Sorry. Come on.
Thanks very much.
I can't reach me from over here, I'm safe. We'll also be answering some of your life dilemmas with self-development expert Mark Fennell. We were chatting to him just before the break, and if you do have a question for Mark, you can WhatsApp us on 0896 111 111. Now, it is over to Deric, who's having buckets of fun with the cheer squad this morning. Can you do a barrel roll yet, though, Deric, we're wondering?
You know what? Yes, I can. Karen, you name it, I can do it. Welcome down here to the Aviva Stadium. Look at that. Absolutely class. We're joined now by Brendan Dees. Good morning to you, Brendan.
How are things?
Tell us what's happening here this morning.
Yeah, we're here promoting the Aer Lingus College Football Classic, which has been played on the 24th of August between Georgia Tech and Florida State University. And as you can see behind us, we have members of the Georgia Tech cheerleading team here. And they're... Yeah,
it's going to be jam-packed, right?
It's going to be absolutely jam-packed. We're going to have a full stadium, 47,000 people, the full US experience, including tailgating, pep rallies, the parades, the marching bands, everything like that. So it's going to be super.
All right, Gurmila, we'll have more from Brendan and all the crew here later on this morning. But for now, get your pom-poms out. Back to you in studio.
There you go. It's our best. Thank you very much, Deric. I love this.
You would
love.
Oh, you do. We'd love some
cheerleaders.
We're not good enough cheerleaders, Karen. Someday. Go, Tommy. Go, Tommy. Right, that's all coming up.
Give me a tea.
On Ireland AM. No, don't start your own song again.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media One.
Yes, thank you very much, We're live here from the Aviva and Dublin. We're going to be catching up. Look at that, the fantastic cheerleading squad here ahead of the College Football Classic that's kicking off between Georgia Tech and Florida State. We'll have more live at 8:45, so do stay with us for that. Promises to be lots of fun. Now, we're getting past 8 o'clock here together. Let's take a look weather-wise at how it's shaping up. And you'll be glad to hear it's mainly dry. It's a settled start out there this morning. Gorgeous sunrise onto the east coast. Some light showers through northern, northwestern regions now in those light to locally moderate westerly or variable breezes. Now into this afternoon, make the most of that sunshine because it will slip down south. Cloud will thicken up, plenty of heavy persistent rain at times. In that embedded some isolated thunderstorm activity as well, so do keep an eye on your pets out there today. Top Valley's holding mild at 10 to 14 degrees into tonight. A system of showers moving northwards across the country. In behind it, we will see that northerly airflow in the driving seat as we push our way into tomorrow morning, with overnight lows again on the chilly, again on the cooler side, falling to 3 to 7 degrees. So that's how we're shaping up for now. They're fantastic, aren't they? We'll be back again live 8:35. Stay with us.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media One.
It's time now to take a look at this morning's papers, starting with the Irish Times. The headline there, famine imminent in Gaza, warns UN. Israel has reacted scathingly after European Union Foreign Policy Chief Joseph Borrell accused the country yesterday of using starvation as a weapon of war. Israel is to send a team to Washington to discuss a planned offensive on Rafah.
The Examiner also leads with famine imminent in Gaza, as the head of the UN Palestinian Refugee Agency was refused access to witness the devastation on the ground. The UN Food Agency warned that famine is imminent in northern Gaza, where an estimated 70% of the population faces catastrophic hunger.
Here at home, thousands get warning on smart meter overcharging, is the front page of the Irish Independent. Thousands of homeowners who have a smart electricity meter have been warned the devices may be malfunctioning, leading them to be overcharged.
Hospital removes elderly patients at night is the top story on the Daily Mail. 5 elderly patients were removed from their beds in one night at the most overcrowded hospital in the country, University Hospital Limerick, despite the HSE insisting it is not its policy to do so.
The Mirror's front page, Garda killer Macaulay dead. Pierce Macaulay, who killed Detective Garda Jerry McCabe in 1996, appears to have died from natural causes at his home in County Tyrone. In 2022, he walked free from prison after serving 7 years behind bars for stabbing his ex-wife and Sinn Féin TD, Pauline Tully.
The Star leads with Kenneth cold case murder arrest. The father of Kenneth Featherston said he's speechless after a man was arrested yesterday on suspicion of his son's murder. Kenneth went missing in 2009 and his remains were subsequently discovered in the Dublin Mountains in January 2010.
The Herald's front page, Garda alert in Dublin for a dangerous sex offender. A Garda alert is in place for a sex offender who was previously suspected of stalking the streets of the capital in a van trying to abduct sex workers.
And the Sun leads with the long Dubai. Efforts to get mob boss Daniel Kinahan home to Ireland to face trial are being hampered by difficulties securing an extradition treaty with the UAE. Now, following on from that headline in the Daily Mail, I think we'll go to as well, in University Hospital Limerick about patients being moved in the middle of the night. We asked you, have you any family members who've been in a similar situation or have you experienced something similar in other hospitals? Yvonne said in January of this year, a hospital which won't be named tried to move my mother. She has dementia at 11 o'clock at night. It was unbelievably upsetting for her. So tried to move her, obviously weren't able to do it.
Ray Turner says, I work in Tala University Hospital and it is not unusual for elderly patients to be moved abruptly at the end of the night. I've seen patients moved a number of times. What was the reason when you were speaking to Hugh about this? Why is it done at the end of the day when it's such a distressing time?
So it was happening at 11 a.m. or 4 a.m. Stephen Donnelly has apologised for one that happened at 4 a.m. before and says that it's not the policy. Statistics, it would appear that they're trying to free up the beds because we're monitoring UHL all the time, obviously, because it's the most overcrowded hospital in the country.
And I would imagine it's because there's no family members around then. So maybe they could do it.
You're literally physically waking a patient saying, right, come on now, get your bit.
At 4 o'clock in the morning, you would be awake. Like a lot of the time, you get medication and stuff here overnight. There'd be a lot that come in to check on you through the night. So it is. But interesting though, in Tala University Hospital, like it's actually. It's not unusual. So this is all, maybe it is policy to move at night time.
They say it's not policy. They have said it is not policy. The HSE has said it is not policy to move patients at night.
When do they move them? Maybe moving them during the day is more tricky?
Josephine says, nearly 20 years ago I was moved from my bed at 12 at night to an emergency ward. I'll never forget it. It was pretty bad. Nonya, my mum was moved. My mum was in a hospital for a week. We saw an elderly lady who was discharged at 1 a.m. She was so vulnerable and she was getting sent home in the dark. It must have been absolutely awful for her.
But this is one, right? So my dad was moved from both Waterford and Wexford Hospital over the past 2 months to a nursing home at night time. He was total confusion and found it upsetting, which is no doubt that he did. But at the same time, he is in the hospital, is probably okay to be in a nursing home. So if they need to free up
why not
rooms,
do it when you're there with family? When you're there with family and you can move them.
The family wouldn't want them to move, potentially.
No, I get that, but if they want to do this, but I'm just saying it does seem underhanded, right?
It does.
To be doing it this time when you have someone there who's not discombobulated, you've got a family member trying to make, like these patients were elderly with dementia. But these are difficult decisions.
They're difficult decisions that are being made and they need to free it up for other people.
But they can do it during the day. Just do it at 3 o'clock. Why are you doing it at 11 o'clock at night?
Quite so easy as that. Let us know, though, if you do know somebody works in the hospital there.
No, but someone's working overtime to move them, right? Because you're sitting there going, who's the driver? But okay, so there has to be a driver there available to bring them to the nursing home. Like all this is happening? So you're saying that it makes more sense to do it at night?
At night time.
What is he like?
Or 961111. Let us know if you do know. We'd love to hear from you.
Up next, we're going to speak to a woman who is fighting for change for mothers to be undergoing cancer treatment.
We'll see you back here very shortly.
Well, with Daffodil Day taking place this Friday, we're talking now to a cancer survivor who was diagnosed in the early stages of her pregnancy.
Emma McGuinness, hello, how are you? It's lovely to talk to you. How are you doing?
Thanks for having me.
Emma, I can't even imagine saying the word pregnancy and cancer, saying them so close together, it doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like something that could happen. So what happened with you?
Yeah, it was certainly like living in two different worlds at the one time. I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma when I was 20 weeks pregnant with my son Rory back in 2021. So in the middle of that second round of COVID. So it was just like living in two different worlds. We were really excited to have our little baby. We didn't know it was a boy at the time. We already had a girl who was 3. And it's certainly not what you're expecting. I thought I had a lump in my neck, and I kind of thought, oh, maybe it's a thyroid issue or something like that. But anyway, it was diagnosed kind of shortly after finding the lump with Hodgkin's lymphoma.
So you had the lump removed, but then you had an MRI, which had some bad news for you then. So tell us what that entailed.
Yeah, so I had to go for an MRI after getting the surgery. And you know, MRIs, they're like, don't come in here. If you're pregnant, don't even come near the place. So yeah, I was going in for that, kind of thinking, oh gosh, what's going on? So they had done the biopsy on the neck, and they had kind of confirmed that it was Hodgkin's lymphoma. And then when I had the MRI, I had 2 further enlarged nodes in my chest. And so from there, they kind of made a plan, and that was see how far along we could get with the pregnancy before we had to deliver Rory. And so then I could start my treatment.
What's that like for you as you're sitting there growing your baby, and you also know that a cancer is growing within you, and you're trying, you obviously want to protect yourself, but you want to protect your child.
Yeah, it was really wild. You know, it was very hard to wrap our heads around. I was kind of living in denial a bit. Like, I'd go in for these maternity appointments and everything was so exciting, and I'm so excited to have my baby, and then you'd go into the cancer appointments and you're like, oh God.
Oh my God.
So look, I had to live in denial a little bit. I'm sure my family and friends thought I was kind of a bit crazy, but that was the only way I could get through it, you know, because I was trying to keep myself calm for, you know, Grace, my little girl, and then you're trying to keep yourself calm and as healthy as possible, for your pregnancy as well. So.
You did so well, though, to deliver Rory at 36 weeks.
Yeah.
That was massive to get
We
to
were
that
delighted
stage.
with that because...
No.
So I was like, has a puppy come in or something?
No, we're looking at you and your gorgeous baby. So you'd obviously started chemo at that stage, Emma.
Yeah, so Rory was born on the 26th of May. He was born at 36 weeks, which we were delighted we could get to that point with him. But he was still a little bit early. He was in NICU for about 10 days. And then we brought him home, and then like 4 or 5 days later, I started my chemo.
How did you get your head around that? Because I mean, you're so all over the place anyway, having delivered a baby.
Yeah.
You want to be with your baby as much as possible, but now you're having to juggle chemo treatments and hospital appointments.
Yes, and like a 3-year-old as well. You know, the only way we
Who
got...
wants mum? Exactly. It's so unsettling for her to have a new baby suddenly.
Yeah. You know, we had amazing support. We were so lucky. My mum and dad moved in with us for the 6 months I was on my treatment. And, you know, they just handled putting Grace to bed and all the night feeds. So I just got to be there for the nice bits. Like, the kids would come in and play, or they'd come home, well, Grace would come home from creche, and I'd make sure I was up and dressed. But for the day, I could stay in bed, really. And you get into a routine with chemo as well. Like, I was bad for the week, and then my second week I'd be fine, and then I'd go back in again, because I was getting chemo every 2 weeks. So we got into the routine of it, and...
So you could nearly predict how you were going to feel and schedule your time around that.
Yeah, exactly. For the first week, I was kind of in bed, and then the second week I'd be up and about, and I'd be able to do school runs and stuff like that, you know.
Because there are certain things that you can't do. You had a PET scan at one stage and you were irradiated, so you couldn't go and see Rory, and you couldn't breastfeed when you started getting chemo. So all these things are going on.
Yeah, but look, I think as a mum, you are really like eyes on the prize. Like, this is what I have to do to get through this, and you know, you're kind of... We were saying earlier, you're still worrying about lunches and dinners for kids while you're doing all this. And I'd be in at my chemo appointment texting my mum about, get this, or exactly. Yeah.
And COVID.
Yeah, well, COVID on top of it then. Yeah.
So all of this is going on, and you had been a working mum of a young girl.
Yes.
And then you have 2 babies.
Yeah.
And you're on maternity leave throughout your cancer treatment.
Yeah.
and then your maternity leave ended, and it threw up a whole load of other issues.
Yeah. So my treatment was 6 months long. So I was doing chemo every 2 weeks for 6 months. And my maternity leave ended, I think it was 3 days before my last chemo session. So I hadn't even finished it yet. And that was it. It was gone. It was used up. There was no way to get that time back. So I had to kind of go on to sick leave. Like, chemo is kind of a cumulative thing. You feel worse and worse. So by the end of the 6 months, I was way sicker than I was at the start of the 6 months.
Your body's irradiated, essentially.
So, then I had to sit down, fill out all these forms, and I no longer, thankfully, had a diagnosis of Hodgkin's lymphoma. I'd gotten the all clear. So you're kind of you're writing down your symptoms of why you can't work and what are the reasons you can't work. And it was really, in my head, I was like, felt under pressure nearly to go back to work sooner, because, you know, you have to keep getting signed off, basically.
And you obviously had sort of the traditional maternity leave with Grace, so you knew how lovely and special that time can be.
Yes.
And you were sort of deprived of that with baby Rory. So psychologically, do you feel it would have made a difference to you to know, okay, I'm getting my treatment now, but I have a maternity leave still at the end of this?
That would have been like a hugely, like, just motivational thing to look forward to, because you miss out on so much stuff. I missed out on so much stuff with Rory. You know, he was very lucky. He was so loved. My mum and dad, my husband, everyone was just doting on him. All my aunties and everything, everyone, he couldn't have been more doted on. But I missed out on those things with him. Like, I was so ill some days, I couldn't hold him. My mum would bring him in for me to hold.
Pains in your arms.
I had really bad arm pain, and hand pain, so I wasn't able to do those things.
So what is, because this is affecting kind of a woman a week, which is horrible to think about. It's just so horrible to think of a woman being pregnant and having cancer and having to then deal with bureaucracy. So you've got Leave Our Leave campaign. What is this about? So, and I suppose this is kind of why I'm here today, to talk about how amazing the Irish Cancer Society are. They, along with one of the lead campaigners, Erica Tierney, created this campaign. It's called Leave Our Leave. So essentially, we want to be able to defer our maternity leave in the way that a man can defer his paternity leave. So that women, if you're undergoing cancer treatment, you can pause your maternity leave and defer it for a while and come back and enjoy it. So for me, I would have been able to defer it after the first 4 weeks, defer it, and then when I was finished my treatment, be able to take my maternity leave then. And it wouldn't make a huge difference. Psychologically, it would make a massive difference. In terms of like cost and stuff like that, I don't think it would make a huge difference. Because as you said, you can do this with paternity leave, you can defer it and take it at a different time because it's a relatively new thing. But it does appear that the government want to do this, but they just haven't, they haven't signed the thing yet, so is that maternity can be deferred like paternity.
So we got the commitment in October that, you know, this was going to be drafted up and put into legislation. So that's 6 months ago now. We still haven't got there. We're hoping that we're almost there. You know, myself and the other girls who are on the campaign are kind of, we're out of it now. Like, I feel great. I try not to think about it that much. You know, I think about it every 6 months when I have an appointment, but we really don't think about cancer that much anymore. And so, yeah, we'd love not to be talking about this.
You'd love to have this done and be like, okay, so we've gone through this, so no one else has to.
Exactly, So,
you look fab. How are you feeling?
Well, thanks, Emil. I feel great.
You feel great?
Yeah, all is good. The usual tiredness that comes with two kids.
Two small children.
Working full time, fair play to you.
That's it. People can find out more, of course, and it's Go All Out Against Cancer, this Daffodil Day and Daffodil Week, which is happening this, and you can find out more. You can visit cancer.ie. Emma McGuinness for the Leave Our Leave campaign. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Thank you for talking to us. Thanks a million.
Lots more still to come.
Back with you in a minute.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media One.
Yes, thank you very much. You're live here at the Aviva. Opening shots there of the Irish dancing duo, the Gardening Brothers. We're going to be catching up with them, including the elite team here of cheerleaders. That's all to come live at 8:45. Now, a quick look at weather, and it is a drying at the start. You'll be glad to hear out there this morning. We are seeing some light showers through the northwest, but elsewhere it is holding mainly dry and settling down those light westerly or variable breezes. Now, right across the day, some really nice sunshine, especially through the afternoon, but it will slip into early evening with the system of showers building into parts of Munster. Heavy persistent rain for a time as well, with some isolated thunderstorm activity embedded in that rain too. Top temps of 10 to 14 degrees into tonight. Then system of showers working its way in a northerly direction, just about holding drier for the northwest we go, with overnight lows on the chilly, on the cooler side, back to 3 to 7 degrees. So that's how we shape it up for now. We've got lots of cheerleading action coming your way. It's not incredible, is it? 8:45. Stay with us.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media One.
Well, life coach Mark Fennell is back to answer some of your questions.
Yes, we have loads of texts have come in from chatting to Mark earlier on. So, Mark, we're going to get straight into it because we've broken them up into a couple of different segments.
Sure.
Quarter life crisis is the one we discussed earlier on.
Yeah.
And a big thing people are having now is talking about regret. So, 25 to 35. Things I don't know the right thing for me. A lot of people are talking about actually, do they really want to live in Ireland, or how do they make the decision that it's time to leave?
Yeah, it comes down to priorities and going, what's important to me? Because sometimes travelling might be, and for how long do you want to do it? So travelling could be 6 months, a year, and that's fine. But if family is very important, you're not going to go for 2 or 3 years. So you can look at doing everything. It's just how long will I do it for? Number one, priorities number two, and what's values number three. So as in, what do I want in the job that I want to do? What's important to me around that job? And what are attributes of the job that, should we say, top me up or fill me up? You know, because working in the financial sector, say in Ireland, might be quite different to a financial sector in Australia, for example.
But what about jobs here? That there might be more opportunities abroad?
Yeah, and again,
like wanting to leave, you're thinking I might have to leave my family to go live on the other side of the world.
This is the big kind of debate that a lot of people are facing, because they're thinking, do I want to go there? And, I have the financial, but I don't have the family support. And so it will generally, I always say, have a strategic approach and say, well, look, I'm going to give myself a period of time. And then so I can, and give myself the grace that if I want to check out and come back early, I'm allowed to do that. The worst thing we can do is try and make a decision that the next 10 years hinges on. That's too much pressure. That's overwhelm. So plan more in the short term and say, right, if I need to go away for 2 years to get my deposit and then come back, is that doable? Is that something I want to do? Because in 2 years' time, you might say, I will stay here. Things change. Give yourself that freedom, but have a strategic approach, but don't be thinking too far ahead and putting that pressure on yourself.
What about if you're not on the same page as your partner? Because Mark says, what do I do? My partner wants to stay in Ireland to focus on her career here, but I want to try and move to the UK or London, and we're struggling to find a middle ground.
Look, the compromise is the big thing, and it's finding that. I always think it comes down to trajectory of life and say, well, look, we're here now, but if we stay here in 10 years, 5 years, how is it going to make us feel then? A conversation to have around that is what's most important to the relationship, because you have to think of it as a team. And I know one will want to go and one will want to stay, but really get down pros and cons, have that conversation, but really bring it back to the values of the relationship. Not let the financial make those decisions for you, although it's impacting, but the values, because you'll be happier with less money than having more money and unhappy. It's a way up.
Well, that tees up our next, because we have a load of questions on happiness versus security. So we have one, Elaine, saying that she's changed careers at 42, took a 30 grand drop in salary, and is happy, but is tempted back into the old industry. Louise said as well, I have a good job, but I'm just not happy and fulfilled. What do I do?
The answer is almost in the question, I'm not fulfilled. I would always say it like this. If I was working with a client, I'd always say, let's try and go for both. What's fulfillment, what's happiness? And let's see if we can do both, as well as the security. And here's how we know that. Look at the attributes of the old job that you liked, and can those attributes be achieved in the current sector, maybe with a job change, maybe with a different department, and see, can you get that same security where you're at? Try and go for both.
Do you think it's right, like, to take a drop in salary to be happy, though? Is that the right way forward? Do you think, given the cost of everything is increasing, housing, even cost of living?
This is what, and exactly.
So it might be, you might be happy in the immediate term, but then all of a sudden...
The financial implication.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would always say try and go for both. So it's trying to say, what are the reasons that I love that job so much? And are there attributes that I can find in the current sector that I'm in with the security? That's possible, and a lot of the times that is possible. Also, I'd also be saying as well is when you hate a job now, in 5 years' time, you'll detest the job. It's soul destroying. So you've got to bear that in mind. So if you hate it now, you'll really hate it in 5 years' time. So unless you can change something, the main thing is don't settle. Change somewhere, whether it's the job you're doing or even completely change the job role.
Don't settle.
Don't settle. What about if you love your job but you also love your kids? Because we've had one viewer in saying, how do I deal with mom guilt while trying to maintain my career?
You know, you've got to remember why, because a big part of this is our motivation. And mom guilt is because they're feeling bad. I can't be there all the time, but I have to work. The reason you're working is to give your kids probably opportunity you didn't have. And if that's your motivation, remember that and remind yourself of that so that you'll deal with guilt a whole lot less, saying, well, the reason I'm working is so that they can have a future, and think that way as well. So bear in mind your priorities and how you think. And the other thing I would say is mom guilt comes from most moms, most dads. It happens. You sometimes have to just say, well, you know what, we're doing the best with the opportunity and the time available to us. And that's all you can do, is doing your best. It's not about comparing. It's not about being the perfect picture mom. Doesn't exist. It's about doing your best with what you have at the time. And if you need to work more hours than you would like, but it's going to give them financial security in the future, we'll weigh it up and make that decision.
All this can lead to burnout, and we're seeing that with moms at the moment, this mental load that has sort of gained a lot of traction over the last couple of years. And Lynna says, I'm a mum of 3, I work full time, I find it very hard on my own mental health being so busy. Because sometimes you just... It's so exhausting.
You've only got 2 hands.
Yeah.
Here's what I'd say, and that's absolutely it. And this is 1 brain, 2 hands. And here's what I would say. It's like the oxygen mask on the plane. You've got to put yours on first before the child. You have to look after yourself. And so if you're feeling that, you know, anxiety levels are rising or stress levels are rising, you've got to look after you. Because if mom or dad go down, the whole ship goes down. So you've got to prioritise yourself. That's not being selfish. That's just having wisdom and say, well, I got to make sure if I'm feeling I'm doing too much, I need to rein back and see what I can do for me. Carve out space for yourself. It might even be small space, but sometimes a bath on a Friday evening with no interruptions, if possible, might be all it needs. But carve out that. Listen to how you feel. Your emotions are like a radar, and they will blip before there's a real problem. Don't just let it blip.
I think where mums struggle is, so there's always laundry to be done, there's always a dishwasher to be emptied, and that's why we don't carve out that time.
Absolutely. There's always...
Do you think, is it communication with either a family member, a partner, or whatever else, just kind of try to say, I need a bit of time here, whether it's go for
I think it's very hard because generally if you are together, both partners will feel it. So it's like, I'm already feeling this way, now you're dumping more stuff on me. Like, it's really
Well, here's
tough.
what I would say. Leave the laundry. Don't do the hoovering. Don't do the dusting. And the two of you sit there in a dirty house.
Just keep growing, though.
Right? You know,
keep building up.
It doesn't have to be pristine every day. Like, literally, we are sometimes holding such high standards because we're comparing ourselves all the time. Take the pressure off and say, do you know what? The house will be still dirty there tomorrow. I can clean it tomorrow. We sometimes have to do that. And I know there's lots when there's kids, you're juggling a lot of spinning plates. But sometimes you have to say, you know what? The dusting can wait.
OK, we'll keep on going. Claire said she's just come back from maternity leave, feels that she's just lost her groove, lost her mojo. How do I get that back?
Yeah, it's when you lose your spark. And I've countless people that DM me about this. And it's a common thing because you're out of the work environment. You lose, I can't even remember what it's like to be in the canteen again.
I know how to talk to people. We probably saw that post-COVID as well.
Absolutely. Social anxiety came back in and people never struggled with it. You get it back by saying, OK, what is it that I am wanting? It's an identity issue, right? And it's what are my values in what I love to do? And I always say it like this, if you do a year to work and money wasn't an option, what would you spend your time doing? And that might give you increments of what you're looking for to get back into. So ask those questions, the things that top you up. No job is perfect, but ask yourself, if I had a year to work and money wasn't an issue, what would I work at? And that might help you start to find what brings you alive. And that's a good place to start, funny enough.
Very interesting.
Interesting, yeah.
Listen, we've an awful lot of messages
I know.
to try and get through,
We
and this
kept
is
going.
only some of there's so many more as well. Listen, Mark Fennell, thank you so much.
you.
How can people find you online?
Yeah, markfennell.ie. It's the same on Instagram. That'd be great. Yeah.
And if you do have any questions, he loves getting back to you. But listen,
I get back to everyone.
it's good on you. Well,
yeah.
listen, it's brilliant advice. No,
Yeah, it
really,
is.
really
Really good
appreciate it.
stuff.
And you can see by the response we've had
Yeah,
how many
struck a
people are
chord.
actually struggling out there. Yeah,
For sure.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for that, Mark. All right, up next, Deric is channeling his Ireland AM team spirit from the cheer sidelines.
I can't wait to see it.
Hey guys, Ireland AM could be producing the next lead star in the movie. Are you moving into movies as well? Bring it on.
What's that?
Bring it on.
Yeah.
The
It's not Tommy,
cheerleading.
oh, I know what you're talking about. Brr. It's cold in here.
There must be some toros in the atmosphere.
A
We said
classic
bird.
with Kirsten Dunst. But we know someone who can do it even better because Deric has been learning all about team spirit this morning with the Georgia Tech cheer squad at the Aviva Stadium.
Bird, Eric.
He knows what we're talking about.
How are we getting on?
Yes, good morning, team. Welcome down here to the Aviva Stadium, of course, normally home to the rugby and soccer. This morning, it is home to the College Football Classic. Brendan Meehan is with us. There you go. Catch that, Brendan. Good morning to you. How are you?
We're mighty. We're great, Deric. Yeah.
Brendan, I mean, we had a great match here at the weekend, and this morning it's all about American football. Tell us about what's happening.
It is indeed. 24th of August, Georgia Tech playing Florida State University here in the Aviva Stadium. We're going to have an excess of 20,000 Americans coming into town for the game. We're going to have a sold out of Aviva Stadium. Very few tickets left domestically. We're really looking forward to it.
This is up and running now 3 years, right?
Yeah, this is the third game in a 5-game series, but it's the goal of the steering committee that this lasts forever. And the first game of the US college football season is played forevermore in men in Dublin, Ireland.
How popular is American football here in the country?
It's growing. It's growing. It's one of the fastest growing sports throughout Europe. The NFL, obviously the professional league, but also US college football. College football in itself is a huge sport in the States, and the popularity is growing here in Ireland.
Let's talk about the tourist boost as well for Dublin.
Yeah, so last year's game between Notre Dame and Navy would have been worth in excess of 180 million to the economy, and this year's game, Grant Thornton, Falls Ireland would reckon it'll be in excess of 100 million. So huge tourist boost, not for the island, for the full island of Ireland.
We got the Gardner brothers here dancing behind us. We also have the elite squad as well. I mean, it's a proper setup.
It's absolutely proper setup, and we're going to have them all here on game day. We're looking forward to it. Georgia Tech are bringing over 125-piece band as well as their full cheerleading squad, so it's going to be cool.
And Brendan, you were telling me earlier on, there's going to be a lot of Americans travelling for this game as well, right?
Yeah, in excess of 20,000 Americans coming for this game, and it's as we said, a huge tourism boost for the island of Ireland.
All right, we'll come back to you, Gurmila Mahaga, Brendan. Now we're going to pop over here to Shanna. Go Team USA!
Yes, sir. Good to be here.
You're all the way from Atlanta,
Georgia. Yes,
Atlanta,
sir.
Georgia, home of the Olympics, in fact, back in '96, right?
Yes, sir. They actually stayed in the North Avenue Apartments on campus.
I love the way you call me sir.
Yes,
You call me Deric.
Yes, Deric.
How did you get into cheerleading?
I've been coaching the last 10 years, and I've cheered since I was 8 years old through college, and then coaching collegiate cheerleading since then.
Is it hard to get into?
It is. It's hard to stick with, I believe. You know, just going with college athletics and the rigor of their time commitment. I think just making the time and sticking to it is key.
You travel all over the country. You've performed across the states, right?
Yes, sir. We go to all of the away games with Georgia Tech football, and then we go to college nationals in Daytona each year in April, and then we get awesome travel opportunity like this.
Yeah, and your first time over here in Ireland?
Yes, sir. This is my first time.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Yes, Darren,
in terms of trials, then, what's involved?
A lot of stunts, a lot of lifts and baskets. They tumble as well, and then we are also big on strength training, so they do a circuit and a workout and then an extensive interview process.
Okay, so no getting past you, right?
Right, exactly.
You're cracking the whip. We're going to say hello to Calvin. Good morning to you, Calvin.
Good morning, Darren.
All the way from?
I'm from Seattle, Washington.
Okay, how did you get into cheerleading?
Well, I did gymnastics for 10 years, and then I ended up getting into cheerleading when I came to Georgia Tech. I was recruited by the coaches, and it was a great fit since then.
And like, there's a lot of strength involved, a lot of core strength.
That's right. I did a lot of body weight exercises when I was growing up, but now I'm in the weight room, and lifting girls all day, and it's a great time.
Not a bad job, eh?
No, it's a lot of fun, and it's a great sport.
Thank you very much. And finally, we're going to say hello to Danny. Good morning to you, Danny.
Good morning. How are you
All
today?
the way from?
Peoria, Illinois.
How did you get into cheerleading then?
I was a competitive gymnast as well for about 8 years, and then when I started high school, I decided that I wanted to try a new sport that still allowed me to do the same kind of tumbling that I always loved.
And again, you get to travel the country too, right?
It's fantastic. I've gotten to go to so many really cool places, especially Ireland. That's probably the #1 on my list now.
In terms then of your fitness, strength, core work, really important.
Absolutely. You know, we're in the strength training room about 3 days a week. Practices are very, very labor intensive. We do a really good job to make sure that we're taking care of our bodies and fueling and eating well as well.
But you love it, right?
Oh, I absolutely love it.
Okay, right. Well, I believe we're going to finish with a little bit of a stunt. What are we going to do here this morning?
Absolutely. We're going to go ahead and put you up on top of our 2 strong boys right here.
Okay, here. Have we got the pom-poms here? Ooh! We practiced this a little bit earlier on now. It didn't go to plan, right? So what? Okay, right, here we go. Okay, right. Oh, up the music, right? This is only as far as level 1 now. Where are we going, boys? Oh, okay, 3 and 3. There we go. Go Team Ireland! Look at that. Yay! Brendan, where's Brendan?
Wow, well done.
Brendan, where can we
Go
find out
Team
more
Deric.
online?
Ticketmaster.ie, tickets, limited number of tickets still available.
Back to you guys in studio!
Oh my God, brilliant, Deric.
Good shot of him there as well. Thank you very much, Deric. Fair play to you. I went to that last year. It was a great day.
Yeah, it's
out,
great
so fair play.
atmosphere.
Some crack.
Brilliant
There's
stuff.
some balance on Deric.
Isn't
getting up
there?
He's so good at everything.
Yeah.
Isn't he?
He's on it.
Properly. Well done. Well done.
Well done to everybody involved there. Great day out, as we say.
Now, coming up, we've got shiny, sparkly jewellery for any lover of shiny, sparkly things.
It's raining men on the catwalk as our stylist talks us through some dapper looks for men.
And a super lunch recipe coming up in the kitchen. We'll see you after the break. Hello, welcome back to Ireland AM now. For any magpies out there, we've got a stunning selection of antique jewellery, and jeweller Matthew Weldon is here. It's lovely to have you, Matthew. These are all stunning. We want them all. We've all been staring at them. But this is what we're doing here. It's like we're talking about antique. It's different from vintage jewellery, isn't it?
Yes, antique pieces are over 100 years old.
Okay.
A lot of them come from the Victorian era. They were all about the romance then. So we can talk about some of the hidden love messages contained in these lovely old pieces.
Hidden love messages. I love it. He also just had a look at my ring and he said it was a good one. Yay! That's a good one. I was terrified. I was like, don't look, don't look. Karen is in the kitchen with our firefighting chef, Paul Knapp, this morning.
Yes, and we've got a classic for you today because you're looking after lunch for us today, Paul. Is that right?
We are, yeah. So what we're making is we've had a busy bank holiday weekend. So what we're going to do is just kind of simplify things. But even though we're simplifying things, that doesn't kind of compromise on any tastes or any flavours.
Good.
So we're making a roasted tomato and garlic soup, and we're going to serve that with kind of like some cheesy baked potatoes.
Twice baked as well, aren't they?
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh, that sounds delicious. Join us for that a little bit later on, but right now Tommy's over on the catwalk finding out about the hottest male looks that are in vogue. Is that right, Tommy?
That's exactly what I'm all about this morning, Karen. I'm looking forward to that food. Yes, stylist Sarah Ricard is here to look at some of the Irish celebs who've dominated the red carpet at the Oscars. Paul Mescal, Barry Keoghan, everybody else. What have we got, Sarah?
Yeah, so we're talking about the stylish Irish men who are garnering a lot of attention for their performances on screen and also for what they're wearing on the red carpet.
Okay.
So yeah, looks today are inspired by Andrew Scott, Paul Mescal, Barry Keoghan and the Oscar-winning Cillian Murphy.
Cillian Murphy.
Yeah.
Barry Keoghan's really knocking
He's
it out
very
of the park,
cool.
isn't he?
Very street style,
very stylish. Okay, we're going to have some cool looks a little bit later on. Look forward to that. Sarah, thank you very much. Deric is with the cheer squad at the Aviva this morning. Give us a D, Deric.
Yeah. Good morning to you, Tommy. Look at the Twister Elites here. Absolutely incredible, all the way from Swords in North County Dublin. They're our Irish squad, and we're going to pop over here and we're going to say hello to Michael and Matthew. Good morning to you, boys.
Good morning, how are you?
Lads, you're just back from the States, right?
Yes, we had an incredible St. Patrick's week. We were in Mexico, then Chicago, and then we just finished off in the White House in DC.
Are you jet lagged?
A little bit, yeah, but we're used to it. We're okay.
Matthew, I follow you online on TikTok. You're absolutely huge.
Oh, thank you. Thanks a million. I mean, we're very fortunate to have over 7 million followers now, showing how modern and versatile Irish dancing can be across the world. So we love it.
All right, boys, take it away. Look at that, guys. Back in studio. Look at that. Back to you, lads.
Fabulous. Look at that, 7 million. We'll be talking to Deric in just a little while.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media One.
Yes, thank you very much. German live here from the Aviva in Dublin. Open shots here of the absolutely fantastic Gardner brothers. Do be sure to check them out on their socials on TikTok. Look at this. All the way from Georgia Tech University. Wow, what an incredible flip. And finally, we have got the Twisters Elite all the way from Swords in North County Dublin. What a performance they've laid on for us here this morning. Now, we're getting past 9 o'clock here at the moment. Let's take a look weather-wise at how it's shaping up. And it's a dry and settled one out there. You'll be glad to hear this Tuesday. It is Tuesday. A couple of light showers through parts of the north and around the northwest now in those light westerly or variable breezes. Now, across the day, hold on to that sunshine because it will fade, especially across southern regions. As we push our way into the back end of the evening, we will once again see showers, heavy and persistent at times as well, with some embedded isolated thunderstorm activity. So do keep an eye on your pets. Top valleys of around 10 to 14 degrees into tonight. Then at system rain pushing northwards up across the island. In behind it, again, we are seeing quite a windy one in store, this time veering through the north with overnight lows there. On the chilly side, back to around 3 to 7 degrees. So that's how it's shaping up for now. We'll be back again live from the Aviva, 9:35. Stay with us.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media One.
Hey, you're very welcome back. Now, we were speaking about, at the front of the Daily Mail this morning, about 5 elderly patients were removed from their beds at night time, obviously in Limerick University Hospital, which is obviously fairly overcrowded at the minute. And we were asking, have you any experience of this, or what's the story behind it? And we have a message in saying many elderly people are termed as bed blockers when it comes to hospital and acute beds. It's not their fault, but there's nowhere for them to go. This is a very painful situation for families, but transfers at night are dangerous for handover and cause massive confusion for elderly patients. So you said that Stephen Donnelly said it's not policy to do this.
Not policy for the HSE.
But it's obviously going on.
Yep. It would appear so, and we really do appreciate, because it looks like an awful lot of people who work within the health service have gotten in contact with us this morning to tell us some of these stories, and we really do appreciate that. I work in a hospital, and moving patients isn't unusual. It is absolutely avoided where possible and only done as a last resort. There's a number of reasons why it may happen at night time. Availability of ambulances and transport during the day is always incredibly limited, with long waits, is what one person
But that
says
actually
here.
is a good point, and that's what you were saying, like that. They're not doing it in a haphazard manner. Like there could be good reasons.
Because there are beds that they need to free up the beds. So it's obviously a difficult situation for families to see their parents moved, and people who probably shouldn't be moved, but they have to free up these beds as well. And exactly,
but
hospitals...
if you're an elderly parent with dementia, I'm just thinking, sit there right now and you go to see them in hospital the next day and they're not there.
Well, I would imagine they'd
know.
be told that your parents would get moved.
When you arrive to the hospital, I'd say you
home.
find out that they've been moved.
And then they'd be like, well, is the nursing home around? Like, I know what you're saying. It's not something I'd want to experience from my parents, but at the same time, they're not doing it for no reason. This is obviously being done because they need to free up the bed spaces.
This next viewer says, my dad had sepsis and terminal cancer. He had health insurance. He was moved at 3 a.m. in the morning on several occasions in Wexford Hospital to wards with 8 people in them. It was so distressing to him that he begged for us to take him home. God. And that's what you're saying there, exactly. You know, to see an elderly parent in such distress is heartbreaking.
Yeah. I was in hospital in Dublin in January 23 after suffering heart failure. I was moved to different beds 13 times in different wards. In fact, it took the doctors attending me over 36 hours at one stage to find me, because they moved me so much that I had gotten lost in the system.
Oh, yeah, listen, this is... I'm sure there's so many issues with this and how difficult it is, but obviously moving somebody at 11 o'clock at night or 4 o'clock in the morning is not ideal. But it's happening in hospitals because, and that's what a politician said, that, University Hospital Limerick are about statistics, and they don't want these terrible statistics of just saying that they've no free beds there. This is what maybe they're doing.
Do you know who was a tonic this morning? Emma McGuinness.
Amazing.
We had her on around 8:15 this morning. She was diagnosed at 20 weeks pregnant with cancer, Hodgkin's, and her husband is a GP, and it was actually her mother who spotted the lump. And I think that just goes to show how busy she was as a mum of a toddler working full time. She hadn't even noticed her own neck that had grown a lump. Anyway, she's out the other side of it, and she was an absolute inspiration. It was so great to talk to her this morning. A viewer here says, oh, I've lost it now, where's it gone? Such an inspirational story from this lady, so positive, having been through so much. Can't imagine how tough it was. I'm a cancer survivor myself, so her story was great. And as Emma was saying, you know, she got through it. She was able to give birth at 36 weeks. Her baby Rory is fine now. She's fine now. She says she doesn't even actually like talking about her story that much because she really feels it's behind her now. So it's just great to see and, you know, get out and support Daffodil Day on Friday.
Absolutely. Really important to support that, obviously, because Irish Cancer Society provides so much help for people with cancer. During COVID, I was diagnosed with cancer at 6 weeks pregnant, underwent surgery at 10 weeks pregnant, and can totally appreciate the fear and struggles that Emma had. The baby growing in me at the time gave me the strength to get through the cancer and come out on the right side. Changes needed so that, and this is what Emma was talking about, so that the time is given for sick leave that doesn't impact on maternity leave and precious time with the baby. So Emma's hoping that the government will push out maternity leave, that you can defer it, like
a little bit like what you do with
can.
paternity leave. Yeah, it makes complete sense. And I'm sure it's something that could easily be done. So good on her, and how inspirational. A lot of messages on that as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you for getting in touch.
We'll be with you back on Ireland Day in just a few minutes.
Well, they say diamonds are forever, and the selection we've got in today are one-of-a-kind antique pieces.
And we have just been trying them on and having a great old
Fingers are
time,
too
haven't
fat.
we? Jeweller Matthew Weldon joins us now to tell us about pre-owned jewellery. Hi, Matthew. How are you?
Hi, Matthew.
Very well. Thank you for having me on.
It's lovely to have you here because I think it's obviously always been a thing. There's a difference between, as we mentioned, vintage and antique. You deal in antique jewellery.
Yes, and it's a really good question. And not a lot of people would actually know that there is a difference. Antique jewellery has to be 100 years old. So if it's not 100 years old, it can be vintage, and vintage can be anything in between that. When we speak about vintage, we typically talk about 1960s, 70s, that kind of retro vibe.
Okay.
But it can mean anything, really.
And what's the motivation for a person when they are seeking such a special piece like this? Is it that they want something with history, or they're just fans of antique jewellery, or are they thinking sustainability? What's generally the motivation?
Probably a mix of all those, I'd say. I mean, the people who really come to us, they're not counting carats, they're counting centuries, right? So, now they will get a very nice carat as well, I'm sure. But the sustainability is also a huge factor of it. Like, obviously, these pieces have been around 100 years. I mean, their carbon footprint is 0 at this stage. So that definitely is a factor to consider.
Okay, and then when it comes to, I suppose, the antique, you mentioned they're carats. They're not counting carats, they're counting centuries.
Yeah.
Does that mean that the carats are less on older rings, or what's the story?
Not at all. The diamonds or any of these gemstones, they're measured exactly the same way today as they were 100 years ago. I mean, these stones, they don't change. They're around billions of years. But the people who are looking for an antique piece, typically they're looking for something that's very unique, like unique to them, unique to their style. Also, an individual stone. A lot of these older diamonds are completely bespoke cut. They're cut by the gem polisher. There's no prescribed format. And also, there'll be a unique design based on the period.
Okay. And do you tend to know the backstory of some of the special pieces that you have? Like the love story?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes we do. Like, if it comes from a family and someone got it and they just don't like the style, we can have the full history. But generally, we just know based on the style of the piece. We can tell you when it's from, what the history is. Like, for example, these pieces here, these are what they call acrostic style jewellery. So they have the beautiful colours in it, all the different gemstones.
Yeah.
But they actually have a hidden meaning in them.
So tell us the hidden meaning. We're talking about these ones here with the different coloured gemstones.
Oh, God.
Exactly, yeah. So if you take the first letter of each stone, so this one, for example, it's an amethyst, that's an A, and if you take each of the other letters, it spells adore. So for your beloved, you give them an adore ring to say your love for them.
So really break it down. So it's amethyst, then what you go into? Diamond.
Amethyst, diamond, next. O for opal, which is your... and then you've got ruby, R, and E, which is emerald.
Wow. Oh, my God.
I've never seen a ring like that. So what era was this from, did you say?
Those acrostic rings, they can go right back 200 years, 250 years, even in the Victorian period and early Georgian. But people are still making them today.
Okay, so because there was one. So this is a door. What was this one again?
This one here is, there's dearest and regards. You've got regard.
Okay. So this is regards. Oh, yeah. He didn't like his wife. It's like, can you imagine?
Sincerely. Regards, dear.
Regards.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, regards.
All right.
I have to get your ring, but I don't want to say I love you.
Well, email culture has probably changed the meaning of that.
You're right. It probably would have meant more. Wow. Yeah, okay.
And then dearest, not the dearest ring in the shop. They're actually well priced, those ones, but dearest, my dearest.
Lovely.
Something very special down here to the front of your display. Talk us through the earrings here.
Yeah, now we were super excited to get these ones in stock now because these are Victorian style. This is more Edwardian. Edwardian is the Belle Epoque. It was famous for pretty jewellery, very elegant, demure. And you'll see here, it's coming through in the style of this. Now, there's not a diamond missing there, don't worry. This is actually a convertible piece of jewellery. So that diamond in the ring can actually be removed and actually goes into here and vice versa.
This
so you get it.
And this.
Yes.
They're together.
They're together, yeah. Because don't forget, the stones were not so readily available back then. So if you got a matching pair of 4-carat diamonds like these are, you'd want to use them in as many ways as you possibly can.
And when you say it was the pretty era, what changed? Was it the technique? Was it the availability of the gems? Or what was it that made it the pretty era as such?
Well, often I find, especially with the jewellery, it's social change, but also technological change. And what you see here is these are made of platinum, right? Platinum is a harder metal than gold, so you can make very fine pieces. So the whole point of this Edwardian jewellery is you don't even see the metal. It just looks like diamonds floating. And actually, one of the reasons Cartier became so well known originally is that they were the first company to pioneer platinum in jewellery.
Wow.
Oh, right.
And I'd say a lot of jewellery houses claim this, but were they the first to go from a pocket watch into a watch?
Yes, they were, yeah. Famous, they had a Brazilian pilot they used to be friends with, and he discovered that the pocket watch was not convenient when you're upside down in a plane.
Yeah. So you needed something attached to your wrist. Interesting.
Handy
Very
to have.
good.
What else? What other piece are we going to look at here now? Another piece from the art.
Yeah.
Is it Art Deco era? This? The tiara?
Exactly, yeah. Art Deco. And that's, again, still platinum is still the metal of choice. So you get these very fine settings, and you've also got motorized diamond polishers, which gives you these square cuts. So you start to see the mixed cuts in the pieces. And that's typical of the 20s and 30s. And this tiara is also convertible, so you can actually remove it from its frame and you can wear it as a necklace.
Can wear and try.
No.
Be more
Go on, have your Kate
put
Middleton moment.
Put it on your head.
No, there's no blonde princesses.
I can't.
Let's go
no.
for the brunette.
How
Pop it on. I'll
there's
take
no
this.
blonde princesses.
Go for it.
How much is this?
Oh, wowee.
That one is 37,500.
Oh, look, you can see my grey hair. I didn't cover up my grey hair.
Well,
Oh, no, I forgot.
It's a beautiful
Who would be
piece.
buying a tiara now these days?
You'd be surprised.
Really?
Obviously, the necklace, I figure, would get worn more than tiara. But we have local clients in Ireland who buy that, but we also do a lot of international shows in New York, Miami, Las Vegas. So there's clientele all over the world. And these original old tiaras are pretty hard to get. So.
Okay.
So pretty. It looks like the diamonds are almost floating there. Let's have a look at these rings then. What's special about these? As if you need to tell us, they're so stunning.
Well, I'm glad actually we talk about those next. So these are Edwardian. So these are real classic engagement rings. And of course, we think of an engagement ring, we think of a single stone ring. Whereas in fact, an original engagement ring typically had 2, if not 3 stones. The symbolism again in these antique jewellery is 2 stones becoming the one ring. So obviously 2 people getting married becoming one unit.
Okay.
Trilogy rings stand for past, present and future, a stone for each. And again, of course, we talk about some of the high value pieces like the tiara, and people think that antiques, there is these beautiful, desirable old pieces, but like some of these can be really affordable as well. Like, you know, this one is $4,950. I have another one that's $1,950, and then obviously these are bigger stones here. So you can actually get antique jewellery in all different price points too.
And remind us of the name of the style of these rings.
That is French words, toi et moi, you and I.
Gorgeous, isn't it?
It's I just love the emotional significance of all of the pieces. Do you find that people, while they're drawn to antiques, celebrity culture still influences customers when it comes to their tastes?
Yeah, they definitely do. Like, I mean, obviously we can't, you know, it's hard to say exactly the correlation, but we would notice for sure, like even Meghan Markle when she was, you remember that shot in the car and she had the aquamarine ring? Definitely there was a spike in aquamarine rings after that.
Yeah. And we were just saying they're like Kate Middleton's
the
ring.
Princess Diana.
And did that, Princess Diana's original ring, did that then get incredibly popular, that blue stone?
It got incredibly popular, and it's still one of the most popular ones. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And even
if you don't have a royal budget though, I mean, can you buy an antique ring on a budget?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, you'll probably even get more bang for your buck than you would with a lot of modern rings. Now, I'm an accountant by trade, so I'll try not to bore you. But basically, you actually, there's not full VAT on these, so you're automatically going to save a lot on them. And also, the person who made them, they got paid 150 years ago, so you're not paying for that either. But,
what about if you've put your fingers very quickly? Can they be resized?
Well, we don't
they
use
must
the,
have
we don't
slimmer
use
fingers
the P
back
word,
in the Edwardian times.
Yeah, no, they tended to be much smaller people. But all of these rings, they can be sized just like a modern ring. And don't forget, they have 110 years of testing. So these are durable, absolutely fine to wear every day. So
You did loads of fans in like America and stuff because you're on TikTok. Where can people find you?
Our shop, we're based in the Powerscourt Townhouse Centre in Dublin, on the first floor there. If you have an interest in antique jewellery, I'd say we have a podcast called Gem Pursuit, which a lot of people listen to that to get insights into understanding the pieces. We're on Instagram at Corful Antiques and TikTok, as you mentioned. So
TikTok as well. Beautiful. They're so pretty.
Thank you so much.
Well done.
Really
Thank you
interesting.
so much.
Thank you for having us.
For joining us. Lovely to have you in.
All right, coming up, Paul Knapp's cheesy twice baked potato.
And some very stylish suits on the catwalk. We'll talk to you in just a few minutes.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media One.
Gurmila Mahagocho, we've had a fantastic morning down here at the Aviva Stadium. A little bit of cheerleading earlier on. And don't forget, tomorrow morning we're heading off to Bray in County Wicklow to visit the Swan Sanctuary down there. So that's all coming live from the Garden County tomorrow morning, Wednesday from 7. Now, fine look of weather. It's a dry, bright and a sunny one out there this morning. You'll be glad to hear some light showers through the northwest out there at the moment in those light westerly, light to locally moderate westerly or variable breezes. Now, right across the day, in fact, in and around later on this evening, about 5 o'clock, we will see a system of showers develop and they'll track northwards as we push our way through the back end of the day. Some embedded thunderstorm activity as well. Top temps of 8 to 12 degrees. Then into tonight, it looks like once again a showery one for most areas. Winds will veer to the north as well, so we are expecting a damp and a bit of a windy start as we work our way into tomorrow morning, especially across the eastern half of the country, with overnight lows there back to 3 to 7 degrees. So for me and all the team here, Mark Armstrong with us on cameras this morning. That is your final weather update now this Tuesday.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media One.
Well, it's comfort food on the menu today, and we are going to be served a tasty tomato soup with cheesy baked potatoes.
It's absolutely delicious. Join us with that and more is firefighting chef Paul Knapp. Good morning to you.
Good morning, guys. How are you? Yes.
I
couldn't wait.
I can't wait. I'm sorry. Like the cookery segment in the 9 hour just does not help me.
It doesn't work for his schedule or his tummy.
It's so we're doing twice baked
potatoes, and we're doing a roasted tomato and garlic soup,
which is delicious.
So what was it when we say like twice baked? What we've done is I've already baked these potatoes just regularly. So first of all, get the oven on 190. Gas mark 5, leave that on to preheat. And what I've done is I cook the potatoes, depending upon the size, anywhere between sort of 50 minutes to an hour and 15 minutes. Once they're kind of crunchy and squishy, then they're ready to go. And all we've done...
Questions, hold you right there, right? Preference with the potato? Rooster, Maris, Piper.
These were roosters. Roosters and Maris Pipers are good potatoes to bake as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Did you see? I've loads of questions.
Go on to the next second.
Go on.
I'm going to take my time with this. Did you cover them in olive oil or seasoning?
There's loads of, like, again, I was cooking some of these there the other day, and people come up to you and say, like, you're not covering them in olive oil, you're not covering them on a bed of salt, you're not covering them in foil. I say, no, all I do is get the potato with a knife or a fork, I just prick the thing like that quite rapidly, and I just chuck it into the actual tray, that, you know, the grid, the rack in the oven.
Straight onto the
and just
rack,
straight in there, and that's
So
it.
not on a baking tray?
No, it's nothing to do on those bits and pieces.
Okay.
So what we're doing
Any more questions?
No, I'm good. No.
Okay.
So all of the
Chop it in
ingredients
half.
up and the recipes up on Dial and Devon's Facebook page and Virgin Media One's website, OK? So what I've done is I've scooped out the guts, I put in some salt and some pepper, I put in there a plant-based soft cheese, garlic and chive, I put in there some plant-based cheddar, and I'm going to put in there some fresh chives as well with a little bit of salt and pepper. And all we do is we literally just bring all of that together and we mash it up. So what you've got is kind of like a cheesy mash. I'm going to put in there as well some butter there, some melted butter goes in there, probably, you know, a nice big spoonful. You can't be kind of like buttery spuds, do you know what I mean?
You can really taste the chive in it. It's gorgeous.
You like those, yeah? Yeah. So then all we do is once we've mixed this up, we are going to just cover these back into here like so, and then we're going to bake these back in the oven. And they get baked for round about another 15-20 minutes. The cheese will melt and it will kind of like just gently brown on top, so you get the kind of like that crispy kind of topping on the top there. So that's your kind of double baked potato. Really, really simple, really, really easy.
And you've got these with soup where you could have them with like a steak, you could have them with like whatever.
They're a lovely side to have.
Any alternative at all.
They're like a loaded potato skin, really, do you know what I mean? So you can do whatever you want to do with them at the end of the day, but this is kind of the little twist on kind of, you know, like instead of having like a soup and a sandwich. So what we would do, pop those into the oven about 15 to 20 minutes and we can forget about those. Now, our soup, really simple, really straightforward. We've got a couple of kilos of tomatoes, OK? And all I've done is just literally just half those. They get put into a roasting tray. Make sure there's enough space. You don't want the kind of tomatoes all to be squashed together. They want a bit of space to kind of have a little move around, OK? And again, we're going to put in a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper goes in there as well. So just a little bit of cracked brown pepper goes into that too.
But they're not just normal, like, if you can afford to get more expensive tomatoes.
You've got like these little kind of like these little cherry vine ripened ones.
Yeah.
Lovely. If not, get them on the actually the tomatoes that are ripened on the vine. And then what you've got then is kind of like the last one, the kind of the salad tomato. And there is a huge variation in the flavour and in the sweetness of those. Okay?
So the ones on the vine are that bit sweeter, are they?
Much sweeter, yeah, absolutely. Much sweeter, more like a tomato used to taste when we were kids, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you can go into some like normal shops and they have just a packet of tomatoes there.
Yeah, and
there's no flavour on them.
I know, they're just watery.
Absolutely, yeah. So what we've got here, okay, is I've just cut a couple of red onions and I've just peeled them, halved them and quartered them with my tomatoes. I'm going to put in a couple of sprigs of fresh thyme, and then the roasted garlic, that comes from the garlic. I've just chucked his head off so you can see the actual garlic just in there like that.
Yeah.
And we just plonk that into the middle of our tray, a nice little bit of olive oil just over the top of that. And again, what we do is we bake that into the oven for, again, about 50 minutes on 190 as well, the same temperature as our...
So it's not like a slow, a low heat?
No.
Okay.
And then what we do is we will get out these are hot and our potatoes, and as you can see there.
Wow.
So that really intensifies the flavour. OK, there was more potatoes here, but Tommy robbed them.
I know. They're so good. Because you know what? I don't even like mashed potato, but they are absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, they are really nice.
I'd eat them with anything.
So our garlic, OK? So what we do is you want to leave this to cool down a little bit, but what you do, all you do is once it's roasted, you can just squeeze it out like that. So all of the garlic comes out. And what you've got is it's a much mellower flavour than just if you was kind of cook with garlic.
Right.
So that's your roasted garlic, which is actually really, really good. And then all we need to do is we just take all of this. Okay.
How many cloves would be that? We're talking 10 cloves.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, but amount of cloves in every garlic.
Yeah. No.
No, actually.
Nah.
Is there not?
No,
Okay.
they're all like orange segments, you know, they're all random and stuff like that.
Yeah, of course,
And even the flavour varies, but what that gives you is a lovely milder flavour. And all we do is we pop that into here. So this has been cooking for so long, it's really kind of moist and mushy. And then all we're going to do is we're going to blitz this. So you can put this into a food processor, you can put this with the stick blender, you can do whatever you want. Whatever you've got, you can do. You can just mash it down and have it kind of rustic and chunky if you want. You can pick out those little bits of thyme as well. Okay, and if it's a little bit too thick, what you can do is you can let it down with a little bit of stock. So when it sort of like it takes 45, 50 minutes to cook, even though there's kind of a time frame of cooking, the actual preparation is only cutting tomatoes up, cutting onions up. And then what you can do is you can go and chuck that into the oven and you can go and forget about it and you can do other bits and pieces for, you know, the hour while you're waiting.
So the juice that's in there, will that go in as well?
Absolutely,
So
that's the best part of it. That's all that flavour that's been cooking in there.
And if it was too thick, you'd use a bit of vegetable stock, would you?
All we have here is a little bit of veggie stock. So all we would do is we would just take this stick blender, okay, and then we would just blitz this down, like so. If you have a food processor, you can chuck it into the food processor. And then all you've got to do is put in some stock into there, like so. I won't do it all because it's really, really noisy. Okay, I'll blitz it up for the crew. And then what you'll get is you'll get this. So this has probably got, I would say, less than that amount of stock has gone into it. So how thick you like your soup will depend upon how much you do. And again, what you get then is a really, 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 really sweet. I made a mix of tomatoes in this one. And what you can do as well, okay, is, you know, like, as I call it, the unloved section in the supermarket, where you go down to the kind of the end of the aisle for the veggies, where you get the little yellow sticker that's been reduced. Yeah. Like, sometimes you see a load of these reduced because they've come to their date. They're beautiful, they're wonderful, but they're not intelligent enough to know that it's the 19th of March and that they're going to go off the next day, do you know what I mean? So if they're there and they're half price, take them. You can kind of, like, I always say cook seasonally, but sometimes we don't. But what we can do is we can cook, and as a chef, it stretches you to look what's there and say, what can I make from this, rather than kind of just pick stuff willy-nilly, do you know what I mean? So you can pick out those. So sort of like, you know, just be kind of selective when you go to the supermarket. If you want to get the more expensive one, wait for them to be reduced. And then what we get is this lovely kind of sweet, beautiful sauce. You can finish. I was going
to say, it's really sweet.
It is. It's
when do you add the basil?
The basil, you can put basil into it because you've got thyme in there. You can serve it with some fresh chives if you want to make it like that. Or you can just take that little basil pieces and you can just tear the basil into it if you wanted to do like that. Or do you know what's really, really nice? Is if you get like a basil-infused oil.
Oh,
and
then
then
dress
just
on top of it.
On top of it like that.
And I know this is vegan, but could you do a little bit of cream if you weren't?
You can, and also as well, you can put a plant-based
vegans?
cream on top of that, or you can put a regular cream. So the plant-based cream, there's no difference in flavour, taste, or texture. So you can actually just lob that on there. And if I was to put that on there, you would never notice the difference.
Well, we have an empty plate over here, and
I'm about to empty mine as well. Yeah,
gorgeous. Paul Knapp, top notch. Thank you very much.
Yeah, really simple.
Absolutely
great
delish.
stuff.
Can't beat a good tomato soup.
I'm telling you, it's a classic. Now coming up, it's Raining Men. We will bring you the latest trends in menswear right after the break.
You're very welcome back. Now, Ireland's male actors have been receiving a lot of praise, both on and off the screen this award season.
From Cillian Murphy to Barry Keoghan, today's looks are inspired by the stylish Irish. And stylist Sarah Rickard is here. Hello, how are you?
It's a bit of menswear.
Lovely.
I was bringing it for Alan. He's not here.
Should do about Alan. Bring it for me. Exactly. He doesn't need it. He's grand.
You probably need it more.
He's sort.
Absolutely do. And anyway, following on from the red carpet, because really, like, Irish men have been knocking it out of the park.
Absolutely. It's all about Irish men at the moment.
Did you see him on the Late Late Show wearing a polo neck?
Well, I did see that. I saw him matching the presenter.
Did you see him wearing? Did you like the polo neck?
The polo neck was lovely.
There we go. Stylist approved.
Yeah, I like the polo neck. Yeah, Patrick liked it too.
So keen. Right, let's move on. Let's look at Andrew Scott, because he's one who's been really impressive.
Yeah. So Andrew Scott, I mean, we've all known since the hot priest in Fleabag, and yeah, this first look is inspired by his outfit that he wore in the Late Late, and also to the Irish premiere for All of Us Strangers, which is where this kind of budding romance or bromance started with himself and Paul Mescal. So yeah, I mean, again, it's quite a simple, classic look as well. So it's very wearable. So all the pieces today are from Kildare Village, and I think that's where they really excel with menswear. I know I take my husband there all the time. That's our like one-stop destination. But this look is from Reese. So we've started with the beautiful blazer, really lovely fit, very classic tailoring, which Reese is known for. And I've teamed up with the white t-shirt. Like, these Irish stars have a lot in common. They love their white t-shirts, they love their jewellery, they love their cardigans, and they love a blazer. So, you know, I'm kind of ticking a few boxes. Obviously, there's the jewellery, the chain there from All Saints. We've got the white t-shirt from Reese as well, which is
beautiful. Now, this is a look that I would do as well. I do think it crosses bounds. Like, I do this all the time.
Yes, indeed. Yes,
kind of a grey blazer.
I could easily have had one of my female models wearing this as well.
And then let's look at these trousers. They're very tapered.
The trousers are super. Like, again, the Irish stars love to wear interesting trousers, you know, but it's just, well, if you look at Paul Mescal, he does the high waist with the wider leg. If you look at Andrew Scott, they like to do the tapered and then actually show the socks with the loafers. So it's just these little style differences that aren't massively out of people's comfort zone either, which is nice.
And the socks, with the loafers. So can you get away with Michael Jackson kind of white socks
Well, this
nowadays?
is the thing. I mean, if Andrew Scott saying it's cool, then it's cool. Yeah, this is exactly what he wore for that premiere. Yeah, yeah.
And then these loafers, we're kind of seeing all the young ones wear these.
Yeah,
and
yeah, and you could do, obviously you don't have to wear the socks, you could do bare
I've seen a lot of that now around town.
Yeah. The carrot leg with the bare ankle, and then this kind of loafer. Yeah,
There
beautiful.
we go.
Kind of
Gorgeous look. Thank you very much. Right, we'll
Thanks,
go on
Curtis.
to maybe look number 2. So this one's looking at Paul Mescal. So the bromance continues.
Yes, exactly. We had to get Paul in. So this is based roughly on the Gucci suit. I mean, you know, he launched 1 million silver chains, and he launched like
GA shorts.
Yeah, exactly.
The man can do no wrong.
Gucci made GA shorts for 550 euros. So he is doing something right. He's the face of Gucci. He's in their campaigns. He's in the Cartier campaigns. He's just fab.
So we did a round neck t-shirt last time. This time we're going to kind of do the
the kind of grandad, that kind of collarless.
Yeah.
They do like a kind of a collarless shirt as well. But what I love about this suit, this is from Savoy Tailors Guild, also in Kildare Village, and you can fully customize your suits there.
Beautiful.
So, like, I love that slightly bigger lapel. You can go even bigger, which is what you'll see that Paul Mescal wears bigger lapels. He wears bigger shoulder pads. What I was saying about that higher waist, the almost kind of Harry Styles vibe.
Gotcha.
Slightly 70s. But this is, again, a lovely way to do it, and it's a bit more of a spring look. So it's a linen double-breasted suit
and
from
then the collar then. So is that a half shirt or is it?
It's a full
shirt
shirt.
with the grandfather kind of neck?
Yeah. Well spotted, because I was looking for a half shirt, because they do that a lot as well.
Okay.
And that kind of half placket. But yeah, it's a grandad collar. Again, we've got our chain, because you know it has to be done, and a beautiful watch from Armani, Swiss made, down in the watch station down in Kildare Village as well.
Okay.
They're very into their watches, you know, but these are the pieces, like, we can wear as much jewellery as we like, but for men, I think, you know, just to have those few key pieces really can update your wardrobe. So yeah, this is a beautiful one, amazing
Men like
prices.
watches. It's a handy present, isn't it?
Very handy present. Not cheap, mind you.
No, but amazing offers down in the village.
So the trousers, you've obviously gone for similar. Is that the bottom of the suit?
Yeah, that's the matching trousers. Again, they're the shorter, but you can get away with them with no socks, because you're wearing the suede loafers. So again, quite a summery take on his style. And they're in the dusty pink, which is really nice as well. So you can inject a little bit of fun into your...
Yeah, those loafers are really nice with the grey, aren't they?
Yeah, and I think the fact they're suede as well, and with the white sole, they could be casual or they could be more dressy as well. So it's great for like a summer wedding or something like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Gorgeous look on you, and the hair as well.
I'm looking forward to this one. So we're going Barry Keoghan next.
Barry Keoghan.
How
Would
out
he be
there
your
are we going to go? Well, he mixes it up, doesn't he?
Does. Yeah, so he is great at being a bit more street style. He loves a bomber jacket.
Loves it.
Yeah. So this is based on a couple of looks that he's worn recently with the bomber. This is, there he is at the Louis Vuitton event. I mean, these guys are like VVIPs. They're
really
invited to everything. And he loves a see-through shirt as well.
He does love a see-through shirt.
And he loves getting naked. But
he does,
I'm excited to clothe
So let's
our
see.
model today.
Tommy, see-through shirt.
Yeah, not for me.
I don't think we're going to see it on the Ireland AM couch anytime soon.
No, but I have friends that would sport one. Male friends.
Okay, well, listen, we have the see-through shirt here now.
Yeah,
Look at this, showing it off as well, giving people what they want this morning.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. This the see-through shirt is from All Saints.
Okay.
And it's that kind of crocheted. And actually, a few of them, again, as I was saying, they kind of have things in common with their style. So I've seen Paul Mescal in the see-through. I've seen Andrew Scott in the see-through. You know, so it is.
Okay, it's what they're doing.
Getting in, yeah. And then this is the leather bomber, also from All Saints. Again, like all of
fabulous.
All Saints leather is amazing. And then obviously down in the village, you're getting them at amazing offers and discounts too. This is a nice dressy one. Being brown is a little bit different over just a black look.
And you're doing it because that's it. You've gone all black with the brown, which is such a nice look.
It's kind of a statement then, is the bomber.
These trousers
or the see-through.
But these trousers are lovely.
It's just a very classic black trouser from All Saints. In that photo, he was wearing kind of satiny style, which I've seen in Zara Men and places like that. So yeah, they're definitely coming through on the high street as well.
And the pointy toe shoes then?
Yeah, just a little bit more of.
Does that have? Oh, it has a bit of a heel as well,
Yeah,
because you see a lot of these guys wearing quite big heels with the
Yeah,
pointy
well,
toe.
what height are they? Are they as tall as Tommy Bowe?
Well, I don't know. Actually, I haven't met
I
any
don't
of them.
think.
But
I don't think he is. He does wear a Cuban
I think
heel.
they all need a bit of height.
Cuban heel.
Yes, so
Okay.
you'll see a lot of them wearing the Cuban heel.
Because that's just like a Chelsea boot, except it's pointy.
Yeah, but it's lovely.
It's really nice.
Slick, I think. Yeah, they're really cool.
It's fabulous. Okay, we're going to move on to the accessories.
Yes. So I have
You've got a little
Diego
necklace
is
again.
wearing a
The
necklace,
watch.
yeah, the pendant and the watch, yeah, which is Diesel from the watch station. Again, he likes to kind of push it a little
He
bit with
does,
his
yeah,
accessories.
some big
and,
watches
you know,
as well.
Why not? He has a really youthful style and he's mixing it up a bit more. It's slightly less conventional, I suppose.
Very good.
Gorgeous, very
Lovely
nice.
stuff.
Thank you, Diego. Cheers. Our final one is Cillian Murphy. Of course, the Oscar winner, the fabulous Cillian Murphy.
I had to leave Cillian. And
very good.
maybe not what you'd expect, but obviously
Oh, cardigan,
he
yeah.
has such an understated style. He's got a classic old Hollywood style. You know, that is his look. But he's...
I just love it. I love when he does a
deadly.
cardigan.
He is deadly, in all fairness. Yeah, and I just went for the sunglasses and the cardigan look because obviously we could have done a suit or a tux or something like that, but this is his more slightly off-duty, but it's still very cool and very fashionable.
Yeah,
he
he
does
looks very French.
very well.
So
yeah.
a Gant cardigan.
Yeah,
then-
Gant actually is just opened in Kildare Village along with Hackett. So again, their menswear selection is top notch. It's their only standalone store as well, which is brilliant. So yeah, I was there yesterday and it was crazy busy. So we've just done the white t-shirt again and the chain again, and then the beige cardigan, slightly oversized, slightly relaxed. But I think that's what he wants. He likes to wear good quality fabrics and to feel relaxed because I don't think he's very happy being in those situations.
Oh, no.
You know?
No.
So I think he needs the bit of help. And then we've just gone for a classic navy chino then. These are like a tech fit, so they're more breathable.
Okay.
You know, they've a few extras, and then the trainers, just for again for comfort, all from Gant in Kildare Village.
Okay, very good. So let's just look at the watch then first of all.
Oh yeah,
and then
and I love this watch as well. It's very cool. It's an Armani Swiss made again, and like that, it just kind of lifts the whole look, you know, because it is quite a casual look, but then the watch is obviously
and then
high-end.
sunglasses, sure, Cillian Murphy can pull them off.
Yeah,
he can do whatever he
I just
wants now,
thought the
can't he?
sunglasses were kind of, I've seen him do that a few times actually with the cardigans and the sunglasses.
Yeah.
These are David Beckham from Sun Fashion Lab also.
Of course, David Beckham has a range of sunglasses.
Of course,
he does.
Sell anything that man can.
Do you have sunglasses?
No, I do not have sunglasses.
Something that he can do. Should be doing
Sarah
that.
Ricard, thank you so much for that.
so
Gorgeous.
Tick,
Love
tick, tick.
those.
Got me sorted for the red carpet now. So you have. Thank you, Sarah.
No problem.
Now, Karen, what's coming up tomorrow?
Well, coming up on tomorrow's Ireland AM, witty writer Amanda Brunker will be joining us, and Deric will also be swanning about at the Swan Sanctuary in Bray.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
That's going to be really nice. Also, we'll have your news that you're waking up to as well, news, sport and weather.
Very good, yeah, absolutely. And are you going to be here tomorrow as well?
I am actually here tomorrow. Alan has a very late flight and he mightn't make it, so I'll pop in tomorrow and then he'll be back.
Such a difficult time sunning himself out there, isn't it?
He's sending me text messages just from by the pool all weekend.
There, isn't he? Well, thank you very much for joining us here today, and I'm going off to go and steal all that men's fashion.
Yeah,
lovely. Thank you so much. We hope you have a lovely day. Bye.
Bye-bye.
See you later. They were lovely.